Hey you, come, gather around the campfire, and welcome to the party. This is Party Chat, a JRPG podcast where we talk about everything that we love in the world of JRPGs and other Eastern titles. I am one of your hosts, Cameron Hawkins, and with me, as always, is my party partner, Kevin Kenson. Kevin, I've done it. I've watched K-pop Demon Hunters. I did it, and let me tell you, it's really damn good.
Oh no, I immediately saw all your social posts where it was like your soul leaving your body as you were.
Yo, "Free" is the best song on that soundtrack. Like I know like Golden's number one on Billboard and like da 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 da. Like that duet, chef's kiss.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. I did watch it, but I was seeing some of your posts about like specific songs, and it's like, yeah, I don't remember which songs are which. Like some I do, but I that part did not fully register in my brain.
Okay, well to be clear, like to be fair, I'm the same way. Like I knew about Golden and I knew about Takedown, and I only knew about Takedown was because three of the members of Twice, which is my favorite K-pop group, they did a uh cover. Like they did like an official rendition of that song too, which is playing during the credits. Um, the others I did not know. Oh, and I think I knew Soda Pop just because like of clips and stuff.
Right, yeah, because it was all
Um,
original music for the movie, right? That wasn't like they were just
correct,
repurposing. Yeah,
correct, yeah. So outside of Strategy, which is a Twice song that they just licensed for the movie, and
yeah. Well, because even
um,
one or two of the characters are voiced by a Twice singer, right? Or at least the singing voice.
no.
No.
So initially I thought that was the case, but like no, they just had like their Strategy, which was their latest comeback before their most recent one in there.
Hmm.
And then they also had three of the members, Jungyeon, who's my bias, Geo, and Chaeyoung do like they covered the different parts.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So just in that one song. And like it's not the movie version, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
Um
Yeah, because I know the movie. Because I mean, all the characters have two voice actors. Because there's the dialogue voice actor, and then there's the
yes.
singing part voice actor. They didn't use one actor for both.
Yeah, they only did both for one of the boys. One
Yeah,
of the boys did got like the acting voice is the same as the singing voice. Um, but outside of that, how you doing?
I'm awake. I'm
Mhm.
I'm I'm getting there. Look, did I not actually wake up in time to watch the Pokemon Presents like we agreed to, and I did a little speed run catch up as we got ready to record? Maybe. Uh, yeah. For those that don't know, both Cam and I are based in the West Coast, and while I do normally wake up fairly early, I made the mistake of being up till about 2 last night, and the Pokemon Presents was at the nice, beautiful time of 6 a.m. So,
Yeah.
oops.
And yeah, and to add even more to this, you actually know like how much of a heavy sleeper I am. Just
Yes.
like through because I've crashed at your place a few times in the past and during SGF specifically, and you're just like, Cameron, we gotta go. We gotta go in 30 minutes. And I'm just like, oh
Yeah,
okay.
you're definitely the type where you have like the three courtesy wake up calls. Like, look, just check in. Like, hey, you might want to start getting up now. Hey, we're gonna be cutting a little close. Hey, we gotta go now. Like, you
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
get
yeah,
up.
yeah. No, you're like, you need to get in the shower or I'm leaving without you. Like that type of shit. I'm like, that's when I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta get up. Which at that time I did not like I had the expect like not the expectation, but the assumption, implication that I had sleep apnea, which I do. So like I have a CPAP machine now and like things like that. But still, like I'm still very hard to wake up. So got like set an alarm, and we talked about this earlier. We both went to bed like super late too. Um and so I was like, "Oh my god, I don't know if I'm going to wake up in the morning." I set an alarm for like 5:30, 5:45, and thankfully I woke up at like 5:55. I was like, "Cool." So I actually made it in time. Um but anyway, enough of sleep, unless it's Pokemon sleep, because this week we got a Pokemon Presents, and we're gonna talk
Mhm.
about all of that good stuff, or middling stuff, or bad stuff. Who knows? Um, but before that, we're gonna get into some housekeeping. If you've been enjoying the show, please go to your podcast platform of choice, give us a 5-star rating. It really helps us out. Go to youtube.com/at partychat JRPG pod. Hit the subscribe button over there, as it helps get us exposure and things like that. We really appreciate it. If you want to give us a little bit more of a financial backing, we do have a Patreon where we have a few tiers that have different rewards, like getting access to our exclusive Discord, getting the episode a day early, our monthly Q&A podcast where we get asked whatever questions that y'all ask us and we just chat for a few hours. And then we have Campfire Catalog, which is our book club podcast. We're currently working on The Legend of Dragoon still, but we also have Lunar as our follow-up one. And we actually decided over the past week that we're going to do both Lunar games. We're going to do Lunar Silver Star Story, and we're also going to do Lunar 2 Eternal Blue. And so that's a little bonus for y'all that want to subscribe to that tier. Lastly, go to youtube.com/Kevin Kenson and hit the subscribe button over there as we try and get Kevin to 1 million subscribers before the end of 2025. How's the switch to content mill coming along?
Not as fast as I wanted to, but I'm playing catch up right now. So yeah, I've got some stuff coming up very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a Pokemon Presents this morning. We woke up at 6 a.m. for this. And before we get into the nitty-gritty of it all, I want to just kind of like open the box of like, how do you feel about Pokemon Presents nowadays? Because I feel
Uh,
like for me, they used to be like really solid and felt like that they were worth tuning into. Where nowadays it feels like that this is, in the media space, we call it could have been an email. Like
yeah, could have
you
been a
could have
press
just sent
release
us,
kind of deal. Yeah.
yeah, could have been a press release. You could have just sent this all in a singular email and we would have got all the details and like cool. Um, but we keep on getting these like 30-minute presentations that like there might be one thing, maybe two of this entire list of stuff that just does it, that actually does something for you, and the rest just feels kind of a bit like cannon fodder.
Right.
So yeah, I just kind of want to know your thoughts on it.
I look, so it's a little tough because Pokemon as a franchise in general is one that I'm very kind of like mixed feelings on, right? Like I have a lot of very strong childhood nostalgia for it, and it's a series I have kept up with, but I'm also not like in it.
I think we're
Um
on the same page there.
yeah. And so, you know, I would say both I don't have always the highest expectations nor attachment to like what ends up being talked about. I will say that I will because I feel like the last really big announcement we got at one of these was Scarlet and Violet was like shadow announced at a Pokemon Presents, right? Because it was like,
Yeah,
we got Arceus and we were like, okay, yeah, Arceus is like the big release this year. And then we got a Pokemon Presents that was like, oh, by the way, Scarlet Violet's out this year too. And we're like, what? That's this time? Okay. Cool. Like I think that was the last one I remember being like really like, oh, like that was like a solid big announcement. Um Otherwise, they tend to be. I think part of it has to do with like the general shift in Pokemon culture, which is something we'll talk about in the topic of the show today as well, as far as like what we want to see from the future of Pokemon. But there's been such a heavy lean in mobile that I don't
yeah.
want to be one of those people that's just like, oh, mobile games are bad or whatever. But there's like a lot of mobile titles for Pokemon that I just don't really care about. And outside of mainline remakes and now the Legend series, that's pretty much what Pokemon has to talk about. Is all the different mobile investments that they're doing. Pokemon Unite, Pokemon. Uh, we got like a new one announced today with friends. Champion or not champions. What's the one where you like plays the Pokemon trainers and they just have like their signature
Masters EX.
Masters EX? Yeah, that like we're just constantly seeing like drip feed updates for all of those things. I mean, that takes up half the show now. Where it's just like, oh man, are you keeping up with all of our side ventures? Because all these like little different titles for mobile. Like, here's the updates for them. And it's just, I don't really have any investment in those. So it makes that kind of announcement schedule just kind of like, all right, cool. Like, that's getting an update. That's getting an update. There's a new Pokemon coming to that. Neat. What's the actual like big announcement here? And now we're hitting the point where the big announcement is just further updates on a thing we already know about. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm happy to see more ZA stuff, which was part of this presents, and we'll talk about what they like showed specifically. Um, but like that's not like a big moment, right? To like actually have a reveal or some kind of like major thing. It's like, cool, we learn more info about a game that we kind of already have a pretty good grasp of what's going on. There's some in the weed stuff to get excited about as far as like specific details. Uh, but that's not like a show stopping like big thing to reveal or talk about.
Yeah, and I don't want to go on this too long because again, we are going to be talking about the future of Pokemon and like what we want to see, like, and what we think might happen, things like that for topic of the show. But the Pokemon Presents feels, at least of the past like few years, I would say, um, feels like this might be a very like weird reference for people that aren't 90s kids, but it reminds me of the Jimmy Neutron thing where Sheen's like, "This is Ultra Lord," where it's like, and then Mrs. I forgot the teacher's name, but she's like, "Sheen, this is like the fifth time you've shown Ultra Lord to the class,"
I mean, I
and
know the
it's
meme.
yeah, you know what I'm talking
Okay.
about. And it's just like, but it's just like, hey, you're showing us the same things, and I understand that like you want to, you these are like kind of necessary evils that have to be in these presents, but like you're not giving us anything really substantial that's like new or surprising or like makes me want to be excited about Pokemon.
Sure.
And that's what I need. Like, again, we'll talk about it. But, like, there was a new Pokemon puzzle game that was announced. Like, that was like the new game, and it's like, yeah, that game like might get some updates. Like, it has the structure where it makes sense that there could be more updates down the line. But it's like that's not enough. Like that, and I'm not trying to sound like this like um this kid that isn't getting what he wants, but there also it's just like there needs to be more. And I think because I think that just like a lot of people, when these Pokemon Presents come out, people are just like, I'm really mad I woke up this early for this, or like, why did they not just do a strand or a thread of social posts where they could have just announced these things? Because like the thing is like most of the time outside of like the main game stuff, there aren't visual like backings to these announcements where it's like this didn't need to be in a visual presentation.
Right.
And again, some of the visual stuff we do get, like, this literally could have been on a social post.
Yeah, because I will say there
So
are some specific non-game related announcements that I was pretty
yes.
happy to see show up.
Yeah. Mhm.
But they were also some of the shortest segments that, like, yeah, they could have been their own standalone little teasers that went on socials or whatever. Like,
Absolutely.
absolutely, yeah. And
Anyway,
I think that's the big thing is real quick, just to be like, it's not that like being angry at like a specific presents for being lackluster. It's like, hey, like there's kind of been a trend now where like
yes.
what are we getting excited for with these? Because it's like I think about it with like Nintendo Directs, right? Like not every single Nintendo Direct's gonna be a banger. There's going to be those ones that are like not for everyone. There's gonna be the one where we end up getting a bunch of farming sims and there's like a specific audience that's really hyped and a whole lot of other people that were like, yeah, that was a direct. Uh, but oftentimes, that's like one out of four in a row where like the other three were all fantastic or had like some really cool big thing. Whereas Pokemon Presents, again, I feel like the last really strong one was that Scarlet Violet one, which was 2022, 3 years
Yeah.
ago, right? I think 3 years
Mhm.
ago, like a little longer because I think that one was the February one, not the summer one.
Yeah, because I believe we get normally 2 a year, right? Normally on the regular?
Yeah, I think
We
it's
get one on
usually
Pokemon Day and then one on another day.
yeah, I think it's usually a early one that's the Pokemon Day, and then they'll do a like summertime, just as part of summers when you always get a lot of announcements and refreshes on what's happening in the industry. Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and I
just it's the trend that worries more than any individual one being lackluster. I guess is the point that I'm clarifying.
yeah, and you did make a good point that I do wanna comment on, but I think it'll be better to talk about it once we go through the news and dive into the topic of the show about it. So I'll just leave it up in the air for now. Hopefully I remember. Uh, so I'm just gonna go in order of announcements. I'm not like prioritizing most important to least important or anything like in a subjective sense.
Sure.
So they mentioned the Pokemon Championships is being held in Anaheim. And it's worth noting that for those that do go to championships, you will get a digital code for Toad School that you get to redeem for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Um, Pokemon Concierge season 2 is coming to Netflix on September 4th. I still haven't watched the first season, but I've heard it's really good.
It's
I need to
very
watch
good.
it.
It's
Yeah,
it's
I need to watch it.
as someone who hasn't kept up with all the different animated properties that Pokemon's been doing, that is one in particular that I was able to catch, and I've very much enjoyed. Fantastic animation. It's a real treat. Definitely recommend.
Yeah, yeah, it looks good. I need to watch it. And then what I've been super excited for, Aardman shared a teaser for their upcoming animated project. It's called Pokemon Tales: The Misadventures of Sirfetch'd and Pichu, coming in 2027. I wish it was a bit. I don't know. I think it's a little bit. It's such a. It feels random. Like the concept of it. It's like, oh yeah, here's these two random
I
Pokemon that are just like mucking about.
The vibe I have just from that name, and maybe this is a total misread on my part. I feel like they were like, "Hey, what if we did like a Don Quixote story, but it's Pokemon?" Because just
Mm,
that pairing is very like, oh, you have like this Pokemon that's themed after being a valiant knight of some sort with this big old sword and stuff, and then Pichu is this little baby Pokemon that's like his attendant or like sidekick or whatever. And even
mm,
the little we got a tiny little clip that was just kind of acting as a teaser, and the whole thing is a Wooloo just chilling in the foreground while you just see them running back and forth doing all kinds of random stuff and explosions happening off screen and that kind of thing. And so I have this idea where I wonder if they're trying to like do a play on a very classic piece of literature, but just make it an even sillier Pokemon adventure. But that's like the
mm.
basis because it's also like just an archetypical story type now where people are just like, oh yeah, we do the Don Quixote thing.
Maybe that, yeah, or like the Pichu is like being protected by the Sirfetch'd, and like the Sirfetch'd is like just kind of having to put up with the Pichu shit, and like
Could be.
that'd be funny. That'd be funny. Uh, Pokemon Kanto, which is going to be like this real life like Pokemon park. I assume in Japan. I don't know like the location or anything like that.
It'll be in Tokyo.
Oh, in Tokyo. Okay, cool. Is coming sometime in early 2026, and tickets to go to the park are going to like information about that's going to go up a little later this year. I actually am wanting to really do a Japan trip next year. Like I'm really like bullseyeing like I want to do this. Especially because like starting in 2027, they're doing they're starting like their touring prices for people that tour. Like there's like extra money that people have to pay and things like that when they're just in Japan,
Right.
and I'm trying to avoid that on my first visit. So I would like to go sometime next year. I literally set up an appointment to get my passport in a couple of weeks. So I'm definitely like, starting on top of like just the state of the United States of America right now. Um as someone who gets mistaken for Latino all the time, I need to getting a US passport hopefully will protect myself a bit. And but anyway, but yeah, so I'm excited for that. I'm excited to check that out. I hope that they like expand on that and they do Johto, because then that'll be something I'll be actually excited for. Like, yo, let's go to Japan and
Yeah.
check out Pokemon Johto.
It would be interesting if they, because I wonder if part of the idea is doing, because like, so Kanto is based on like an actual part of Japan that's like the Kanto
Yes.
region, and then Johto as well. So I'm very curious if the idea would be to do like not an adjoining park, but instead literally making like a Johto equivalent in the part of Japan that's meant to be like indicative
Mm.
of. So it's like, you have multiple satellite locations. I mean, it's kind of like how here, right? Like we have multiple parks that are just in different parts of the country. Obviously, Japan, that's a little smaller and a little closer together. Um,
Yeah.
but could be an interesting idea. The park idea looks cool. Like they have, for people that didn't watch the presents, basically the park is two main locations where you have like a little small town recreation and then a forest area, which is where the Pokemon will be. Uh, it's a cute idea. I might be making my way out to Japan next year. I don't know if it's going to be at the same time as when the park finally opens, but I'm gonna fight tooth and nail to get in if the timing lines up right.
Yeah. My immediate thought is about like them being in different locations, that it just doesn't seem super big.
Sure.
And my thought process is just like, if they were scattered everywhere, it'd be like, oh, like this is such a small experience. Like, do I really want to go all the way to this location just to experience this small thing? Like, a different version of this already pretty small thing.
Sure.
But it makes sense. You're like, what you're suggesting makes total sense. Um, Pokemon Go Fest Max Finale is coming on August 23rd and 24th. If you enter the code GoFestMax in Pokemon Go, that will give you the chance to catch one of the three Gigantamax Pokemon based off of the Galar starters. Galar's Gen 8, right? I spitball that.
Uh, Galara's Gen's 8. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Oh, and something I didn't mention with the Aardman show. The Aardman show takes place in the Galar region as well, because Britain.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like
Yep.
they would want it to be in the UK. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the not UK.
Pokemon Masters EX is getting Carmine and Sinistcha?
Sinisty?
Sinisty? What?
Yeah, because it's a play on sinister and it's T.
No, but there's a CHA at the end.
Oh wait, because it's like the regional version or whatever. Yeah, there's Sinisty and there's is it like Chi like or Sinischa?
Sin- Sinistcha. Okay.
Yeah, because it's matcha.
Carmine and okay.
Matcha is the joke in that one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Carmine and Sinistcha starting on July 29th to September 6th. I'm trying here, dude. uh, Lapras is getting a 5-star Sea Captain outfit for Pokemon Cafe Remix starting on from July 23rd to August 21st. Along with that, Alolan Meowth, Totodile, and Mincino are all getting pirate themed outfits as well. Meowth will be from July 23rd to August 1st, Totodile August 1st to August 11th, and Mincino August 11th to August 21st. You can also unlock Jigglypuff in their summer fun outfit just by logging in anytime between July 22nd and August 21st. The legendary beasts are coming to Pokemon Sleep in September, and there will be a new area called Amber Canyon coming in November. Do you use Pokemon Sleep at all?
Nope. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea how Pokemon Sleep even works. Like when you tell
Neither
me
do
when you tell
I,
me it adds a
dude.
new region or something, I'm just like, I thought the point is you sleep. I don't know what I don't know what any of this means. I have been meaning to check it out to like try it out one time. Uh it's actually really funny. After an SGF, I had someone reach out to me that was like, "Hey man, like we were talking about Pokemon Sleep, blah blah blah." It's like, "Well, I know that wasn't me." I was like, "I think you were talking to Ken. You found the wrong person with a beanie on social media."
Yeah, yeah. A beanie with a beard.
Yeah, like you're close, and I see how this happened, but wrong beanie with a beard guy. Because I do not
uh,
know anything about Pokemon Sleep.
yeah. Pokemon Unite is getting Latios and Latias. Latios is actually already in the game. He came out on July 18th, but Latios is coming on August 8th. Pokemon TCG set Mega Evolutions has been announced, and it's coming September 26th. Pokemon is getting a new puzzle game called Pokemon Friends. It's kind of like a I saw some people comparing it to like Professor Layton-esque puzzles. Um
Simpler ones, yes,
Simpler
kind
ones,
of.
yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, they just
Yeah.
look like little, like, oh, slide puzzles or
Like slide grid
create.
puzzles, that type of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah. And basically when you finish the puzzles, you get like these plushes, these in-game plushes as like collectibles.
yeah. Uh,
And go ahead.
no, go ahead and finish.
Oh, it's out now on Switch, iOS, and Android. It's $10 for 30 puzzles. How are we feeling about that, Kev?
That's what I was gonna say, because it's not just that it's $10 for the base game, 30 puzzles. If you want the current complete version of the game, which is all the DLC packs, it is $34 on Switch. I think the
Couldn't be me.
monetization's I think monetization's a little different on iOS or like mobile. I think mobile there's like a totally free like start version, and then you can pay for like the
Hmm.
additional things. Because mobile that's tends to be, you're more likely to get like an upfront free version. Um, but yeah, I don't love that pricing.
Nope.
That seems pretty hefty. Uh, like, look, don't get me wrong. Like, I understand, like, not wanting to give away software for free or whatever. Like, this is a thing that was worked on and there was value in it. But that feels like a really steep opening investment, especially when the DLC packs are more than the base game.
And we're not even certain that there's going to be more after.
Sure. I mean, part of that hinges probably on whether or not people buy in right now, right? It's a cute idea. Like the game looks cool. I just think that pricing structure feels a little awkward to me.
Yeah, because I mean, I think it depends on the type of game, and like that is a type of game where I would expect more so that there is a price tag. But you look at Pokemon Cafe Remix, that game's still going. That's a free game.
Yeah.
Um, and it's the type of game where it's like, yeah, you can play this game and not pay anything, but you're going to like progress quicker, get more out of the game if you pay. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. I do not see myself purchasing it, but
I
we'll
might pick up
see
the
down
base
the line.
game just to like, pay the $10, bite the bullet just to like try it out and have like a basic understanding of it. I don't see myself unless like I'm suddenly like, oh wait, no, hold on, this slaps. Like I don't see myself buying the DLC packs, but you never know. That's a future update. Once I pick that up.
Yeah. So Pokemon Scarlet Violet is getting a bunch of Shiny Terra raid battle events. Um, it's going to include Wuchen, from July 23rd to August 3rd. Qian Qianpao, August 4th to August 17th. Tinglu from August 18th to August 31st, and Chiyu from September 1st to September 14th. Pokemon Champions got a pretty like sizable package. Basically it's kind of what we theorized it would be, is like you have Pokemon Home, you can bring the Pokemon into battle. They say it's supposed to be like the most immersive battles yet, but what they showed us did not feel that way at all. It felt like another you know what I mean? Like another by the books battle.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like something that you got when you played like Battle Revolution on the Wii. If you brought your like Pokemon from the Sinnoh games over to that, like it's not a jump like that.
Yeah.
Which I think most people expected. Which is disappointing. There you can battle like online ranked, you can have private battles. Um, and the thing that's definitely the most interesting, and I am looking forward to getting more information and more specifics on exactly what this does and doesn't apply to, is that you're seemingly able to change Pokemon stats and natures on the fly. There is
Yeah.
like this in-game currency. Don't know if it's paid, don't know if it's earnable in game, but like it's some in-game currency that you use to do it. But they show that you're able to do it, but you can also get Pokemon like from Go like in game. Like you don't have to transfer Pokemon over. And so I'm wondering, is this only for the Pokemon that you get in Pokemon Champions, or you can do this for any Pokemon? Because over the past, like, since like 6th gen, definitely with super training,
Yeah.
they have definitely tried to mitigate the amount of time that people have to put in to EV train Pokemon for those that are in the competitive space. Um, and this would just be incredible.
Yeah.
But I was talking to some friends before we started recording the pod, and one of them said like Jesse, shout out to Jesse over at Restart. Um, he was saying how like how would they kind of how would they implement that with it not being abused, right? Because it's just like, oh, I'm in the middle of playing my Pokemon Scarvi run. I'm gonna bring this Pokemon into Pokemon Champions, change its stats, make it super OP, and then bring it back to Scarvi in the middle of my playthrough. And it's just like, how do they be like, oh, you can't do this because you're at this part in this game? Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it could
Um,
be something where like you're creating effectively like a copy of that Pokemon that then it stays in Pokemon
it's very
Champions, right?
possible.
And
Yeah.
then like the uploaded version from Pokemon Home is like, no, that stays unaltered. That can still go back to your other games, but like that doesn't.
I don't know how I feel about that
Yeah,
because, like,
yeah, it's
because
just trying to think of how they would balance that, right?
yeah,
Or they just don't. you know,
because it brings up the question, and we're definitely gonna talk about this in the topic of the show. It brings up the question, like, once this comes out, are all tournament games going to be played on Pokemon Champions instead of whatever the latest mainline Pokemon game is?
it could certainly make some sense, right? Because I do find it interesting where it seems like the adjustment here, right, is like purely on the battle. Like you don't have to worry about how you EV train things anymore. You don't have to worry about catching the exact right nature. It's like, look, craft the literal exact version of this Pokemon that you want to have for your team comp and go. It
Yeah.
really seems like it's emphasizing purely like the battle aspect of it and wants to remove any kind of like grind or introductory phase to like getting the right kind of Pokemon you need for the battles you're doing. Like I think they've realized that there is that scene where, natures are more than just a fun randomization to stats. It's like, no, I need this nature. I need to like build this exact Pokemon. And so instead of, kind of keeping that chase going, there's like, look, we just want you to be able to make the party you want to make and get into battles, and that's what
Yeah.
this is about. um and so yeah, I'm very curious how they're going to balance that with like main games, as you were saying. Like, can you take a Pokemon over, fine tune it to being, this absolute killing machine monstrosity, and then send it back to your game? I feel like that's not going to be a thing they allow. It's either going to be some kind of like make a copy or some limitation on that, but we will see.
Mhm. Definitely. We got some new story details from Pokemon ZA. I think this was like the most disappointing part of the presentation because we just didn't really get a whole lot
You
of
don't
news.
love Mega Dragonite with his big old wings on his
I
head?
don't like any Mega Evolutions. I don't like Mega Evolutions. They're ugly and they're stupid.
I like Mega Evolutions. I don't really care for that one though. That design at least.
Yeah. So we got new story details. So apparently you're recruited by you get to choose whether it's a boy or a girl to join this team called Team MZ, and the goal is to protect Lumio City. We don't know in what capacity that means in a real way. Um During the day, you catch Pokemon. At night, you have the Royale, which is definitely still to me the most interesting part of this, where I'm just like, this is a really cool concept. I really like this. Um, and then they introduce Corbu, who is the leader of the Rust Syndicate, which seems to be like kind of like the team of
Yeah.
this game. Um, they show off a lot of character customization, where you can customize your character like quite a bit. quite a significant amount. They also show that like certain Pokemon you're able to customize as well. And then they introduced some new characters. Emma is like this detective that is basically kind of your point of interest when it comes to doing side quests.
Yeah, who is a returning
Uh,
character.
oh, really?
She was in she was in X and Y, but like as a kid. So this is definitely like playing a little bit
Oh,
on like the passage of time and kind of
future,
reintroducing.
yeah,
Yeah, because we even saw that like in the earlier trailers, right? Where I can't remember his name right now, but the kind of hobo looking
yeah,
guy. Uh,
yeah. The dude's lived for hundreds of years.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah, like he's coming back and he's like running a cafe or whatever now, and so she's another one where she was part of like the post game that involved Looker. So I think there's this like aspect of her becoming a detective and like, kind of his
is
protege or next wave.
no, actually, yeah. Okay, okay, yeah. I was like, isn't this like pretty like notable, like a notable time jump? But no, now that I'm thinking about it, it's like like what, a generation or two? Not like Pokemon generation, but like a generation of like
Yeah,
people.
I think it's meant to be like somewhere between 10 and 20 years later, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And then Mabel is a Pokemon researcher that you basically do research for certain Pokemon. Seemingly, you get like credit or you get like some researcher experience that you can purchase like TMs and some other items from her. They mentioned that like, at certain points in the game or certain areas you'll run into rogue mega evolution Pokemon, which kind of seem like their version of like raid battle-esque, where there can be like multiple uh people with Pokemon trying to take out these rogue mega evolved Pokemon. And they mentioned that those that purchase and claim these rewards before the end of February. You get some free gifts. You get Ralts with a Gardevoirite stone, as well as 100 Pokeballs.
Yes, I think the 100 Pokeballs is the digital version specifically for whatever reason. Um, which is weird.
So digital. So there's a digital. So that is the expiration for the digital version.
Mm,
There is a serial code that you'll get in box
gotcha.
that expires a little bit later, like a few days
Got
later.
it. Yeah. And then
So,
I don't know if this was technically announced at the presents because I don't remember seeing it, but it came up right after. There is also going to be a Switch 2 bundle. Uh
yes, they announced that after. Correct.
Yes, which is
Yeah.
not like a special design or anything. It's just like getting the Mario Kart World Tour one where you get a digital copy of the game as well, and it's $500, so it's like a little cheaper than buying, the system and the game separately.
Yes. Um, which I'm honestly really glad it's not, because like if it was and it had like Totodile on the Switch,
Yeah.
I'd
No,
be like, hey guys, who wants my Switch 2? I need to buy a new one
yeah,
because
I know this was also a disappointment for a lot of people because I know more than a handful of folks who have not bought a Switch 2 yet, and their exact reasoning was they were waiting to see if Pokemon ZA was going to get an
a special
edition
Switch.
because they like
Mm,
Pokemon and they want a Pokemon edition Switch. And
yeah,
like I thought it was a possibility just because it is the first big Pokemon release post, but like it's a cross-gen game.
it's a
Uh
little close to
they
the
didn't
launch of the Switch too.
Yeah, they didn't do one for Arceus. They've done them for mainline Pokemon and for the remakes, but they didn't do one for Arceus, and so that kind of at least not that they have to follow that precedent as any kind of like hard rule, but wasn't a strong indicator at least that they'd be doing one. So
Sure.
yeah, there's a bundle if you were waiting for Pokemon to grab a Switch 2, but it is not like a Pokemon edition Switch.
Yeah. That's everything for the Pokemon Presents. Um, yeah, I think that again, kind of what you were saying earlier is that, and I think this does apply for directs as it applies to Pokemon Presents, but I think Pokemon Presents it's it gets a little bit less of a pass for me, where like there's going to be something in there for someone when it comes to a Pokemon Presents. Like, yeah, like like Pokemon Concierge and like Pokemon
Search,
the
Match, and
Aardman
Pikachu.
Pokemon,
Yeah.
like that, like the transmedia stuff, like I think that's a little bit like out of this conversation, but when it comes to like the games, when it comes as the Pokemon IP, I just like, I like Pokemon Unite, and I'm not a mobile guy, but like I think that game does a really good job at like introducing you to that genre and not making it feel overwhelming.
Yeah, I've heard good things.
Um, it's really good. And so like I'm always curious about like, hey, what new Pokemon are coming to Pokemon Unite, you know? Um and so I have certain things outside of the main line that I'm looking forward to hearing updates about, but like when it's all been the same games for 3 or 4 years now, it it doesn't get that kind of pass that like a direct would get, where it's like, for me, for a lot of people, they may be like, oh, like this didn't really do it for me, but it does something for us because it was very JRPG focused, where there was a lot of JRPG announcements.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely been directs like that where like people were like, that was terrible. I'm like, I don't
Oh,
know what you're talking about. We're fucking eating. Like, you
no,
know what I mean?
that's my usual experience with Nintendo Directs. All my favorite ones are the ones that like I'm going to have randoms in my mentions just being like, "That was a terrible one. What are you talking about?" Like that was incredible. Like I
Yeah.
don't know
But then
how.
there's also directs that people really liked where I don't remember which one it was. It was like, I think it was like a year ago around this time, where it was a bunch of like really niche Nintendo IPs, like a bunch of them over and over again,
Uh-huh.
and none of them spoke to me, and I was just like, oof, like that was not a good direct. And then there were like just those sickos that like love those IPs that were just like, that was incredible. And I was like, so but because they're always different things, they're not the same games over and over
Sure.
again. That's okay for me. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But with this, it's like, dog, we only get 2 of these a year, and we're getting the same shit, and we're being it's you're regurgitating.
Yeah.
And I just like, I want new stuff. I want to be excited about Pokemon. And even with the things that I'm excited for ZA. Like I pre-ordered my copy. I'm gonna play that day one. Like I'm very excited about it. But like, you're telling me that that's all you could give us during this Pokemon Presents?
Yeah.
That's all you could give us about that game?
I think a lot of it, yeah. And part of this too is that right, like sure we could have gotten some actual like there's ways to do updates that feel more momentous, right? Like I think if we got like here are the starter mega evolutions or something, right? Like here's like a
Yeah,
new thing to like that like people are a little more interested in seeing because like that was a big thing with Arceus, right? Was seeing the new alternate forms for all the starters, and people have that
yeah,
question of like, are we getting that again? Are we getting new megas instead? Like what's happening? That like addresses a specific thing that there is kind of some clamor and interest in, and instead we got okay, like here's this returning
Mega Dragonite.
character. Here's Mega Dragonite. He's kind of silly. Uh, it yeah, and here's the thing too, right? Like I think to a degree there does need to be like a realignment of expectations for presents because ultimately there is like it's a focus on one franchise. And like yeah, we get 2 a year, but like I think this is somewhat of a statement on the general state of Pokemon, where it just hasn't
Yeah,
really been going in the direction that like you and I would enjoy. Like we're not seeing the kind of general content, and so like, what is there to announce to get us excited, right? Other than maybe the right specific details about an upcoming major release. Um, it's just kind of frustrating. I think part of it is just that you and I are not the target demographic. And don't have the same interest. I'm sure there are people who were happy with what updates they got, but it was definitely it just kind of felt like yeah, this could have been an email. This could have been a press release.
yeah. And the thing that's sad about it is that the Pokemon Company like surely knows this, but they're not gonna do anything to change it because they don't need to, because they're the biggest IP in the world.
Oh
Like,
yeah, that's like the classic fallback for everything with Pokemon, right? Well, I'm sure we'll touch on this with our hopes for the future, where uh, like there are clear
yeah,
problems that have happened with recent Pokemon releases. I mean, Scarlet Violet was the way it was. And they even said they were going to patch it, and then they never did. And the patch ended up being the release of the Switch 2. And it doesn't matter because that was still an incredibly well-selling game.
yeah.
People had
Like,
complaints about
yep,
Sword and Shield, and that became like one of the top selling Pokemon games of all time. Like, not just like for the Switch. It was a big success. And so it doesn't matter what dissatisfaction there might be amongst like core audience or like, maybe people that have been around for a while, because at the end of the day, it's still selling. It's
Yeah,
printing money.
and that's where that's where I have to give the Pokemon Company props when props are due, because again they had zero need or to do that Switch 2 update for Scarvi. They could have left that game the piece of crap that it was, um, and moved on, but they didn't. They actually put in the work. They did the Nintendo Switch update, and that game is now in great shape. And I've talked about it a few episodes ago, but I've been playing it, and I never played the first one, the original version. So this is like just Gen 9 for me, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. I've heard, like, I see some people online. I've had a few people on our YouTube comments that being like, "Oh, Gen 9 is like mid as fuck" and stuff like that. I'm just like, maybe for y'all because y'all played it on this version or like whatever it be, but for me so far, I'm having a blast and I'm really enjoying it. And it's not like exactly kind of what I think that we both growing up had like this idea of like what a Pokemon game could be. Like it's like, oh, like you can go to like any gym in any order that you want, and you can just like go around and explore, and it has this like adaptability in a way that we're finally seeing in Pokemon. Like I think Gen 9 was like the first example of like, hey, this is something that's possible. It's not perfect, but it's one of the things that makes me excited for Gen 10. It's like, hey, let's like tweak these things. Let's put like this much more. I mean, I'm not gonna say this much, like this little much, because I'm not gonna pretend I know how how challenging game development is. But just like on paper, it's just like, hey, like if you could just like navigate these things so that you can truly go to whatever gym you want and whatever order you want, and the game adapts those trainers, those gym leaders to whatever level you design. Like, oh, the second gym is going to be the like whatever you go is going to be this level to this level.
Right.
um like things like that that would just make it so much more um personable for the player.
Yeah.
um but yeah, so next story, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds is officially getting a physical release on Switch 2. Sega confirmed that they are going to print the game. It's going to be on a 64 gigabyte cart, and it's going to come out. The physical release specifically is going to come out early next year, with the Switch 2 release happening later this year, digitally. Uh, this happened like there was like questions about this because the only time we ever saw a Switch 2 physical box was through the limited run collector's edition that they were doing, and just based off of like previous Sega releases, a lot of people just assumed that it was going to be a game key card.
Yeah. Since like
Um
Yakuza 0, for instance, or was
yes.
that style of release. And so it's like,
And
that's
Ride
cool,
Out,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah, and right out, yeah.
Uh and so this is awesome. I'm really happy to see this, and I'm going to buy this. Like I'm going to vote with my wallet. I'm going to buy this. Is going to be the physical, at least, I'm gonna probably buy it on Xbox too, but because I have the entire collection on Xbox so far, I'm not gonna cut break that chain. But I do want to get the Switch 2 version to support and show Sega like, hey, keep doing this. Because who knows if they did this based off of the feedback that they've already gotten, or if this is a it's Sonic, it's gonna sell, it should be accessible, like in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
So we don't we still it's still too early to tell if like for like really most publishers, if they do a game key card, if it's always going to be a game key card, or if it's going to be a case by case basis. Because like if I'm Sega and I'm thinking like in a business standpoint, like, oh, Raidou and Yakuza has its very like specific audience. Do the game key card because blah 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 blah. Sonic is our biggest IP. Get that on the carts because so many people are going to be buying them physically. So that's kind of where my head's at with it.
Yeah, no, that's my running assumption as well. Is that Pokemon that's Sonic? We were talking about so much Pokemon earlier. Is that Sonic is such a significant franchise that like this is considered a larger release, maybe not like a full blown like big tentpole release, like a mainline Sonic, but it is a notable enough franchise that like they wanted to have that on the cart. Because even with some of the other companies that have done actual full cart releases, like Marvelous, they've talked about how like, hey, we don't even know if we get like it's cool that people are happy we're doing this, and we're glad people are happy that we chose to go this route. But even we're not sure if we can really justify doing it for every single release. Like, there's just it kind of has to be the right one still.
Sure.
And so I think I don't think Sega doing it for this one is like in reaction to the ones we've seen so far. But I do think the purchasing habits of like this game versus Raidou and uh, Yakuza like could maybe influence future like titles moving forward, where it's like, oh, like people are really like buying it more for this version if we do an actual proper physical, if the market reacts that way. I absolutely know that we are a part of a group that like cares about this and are vocal about it, but the actual reflection in the greater market has not, I think, been there quite yet. Um, but I can dream. So
Yeah, I agree with you. But if you are someone that has been complaining about game key cards like us, I think this is a great opportunity to just show Sega like, hey, we want this. Keep doing it. Last story, Marvel Token Fighting Souls is going to make its debut at Evo this year. And when I mean debut, it is going to be playable. There's not going to be any sort of like official tournaments. It's not a part of like Evo in that capacity. But there will be a demo. There's going to be 6 playable characters, including Captain America, Iron Man, Storm, Star-Lord, Miss Marvel, and Doctor Doom. And for those that do go to the event, there is a collectible pin that you'll be able to pick up. There will be a developer combat panel scheduled for August 1st at 8 p.m. Pacific time on the Evo stage. Makes sense.
yeah,
PlayStation owns Evo now, so they're like, "Hey, we're gonna show off this fighting game that we're putting a lot of resources into um, at our event." So
yeah,
dope.
like we got to be getting some character reveals too as a result. Like,
Oh, for sure, it's
yeah,
Evo. Yeah,
because we're at what, 8 characters right now was in the initial trailer, so we got to get more reveals.
yes, because we're missing Spider-Man
And Ghost Rider.
and Ghost Rider. Yep.
Yeah.
So, and
So
it is a 4v4 too, so it's pretty interesting that I'm surprised they didn't just do the whole roster, but
it might just
who
be
knows?
whoever is tuned in enough, and
Yeah,
they're just like, hey, we don't have like,
we're
ultimate
not ready
these
for these
characters that are,
characters to
yeah,
show
like
off.
they're just
Yeah,
still being worked on maybe. That, or they just want to keep that as like, control what they can information wise, just what's coming in with what. Uh, Cool. I'm excited. Fighting games are a genre that I deeply love, despite never putting the time in to actually be good enough to play them consistently. But
absolutely.
I am there day one almost every time for the ones I care about. And while I'm not like the biggest Marvel head, this looks freaking cool. I loved the initial trailer. I love the sense of like unique designs for all the characters, where it's like this is their spin on them, and it's not just like we made Captain America looking like,
MCU.
yeah, oh god. I mean, geez, that was one of the things that was really headache with when, we went from Marvel vs. Capcom, the main ones, into Infinite, right? Is that Infinite is like,
Yeah,
oh, like this is the one that's like kind of playing more friendly with like MCU versions of things, and it was sure a game. Uh I miss 3 so deeply. I'm very interested in seeing like how actual reception for this one goes, and trying to revive the name a bit of like Marvel Tag Fighters. Because Infinite was definitely a bit of a momentum break. Because like even though like 3 had slightly mixed reception when it first launched compared to 2, just because like 2 is like that game historically. Uh,
Oh yeah.
there still ended up being a lot of love for it in the long run. Whereas Infinite just like it had those fan projects for like fixing a lot of the character designs and like updating the gameplay, and like that's cool, but that's obviously not like an actual proper major release for people to participate in. So I'm excited about this game. I can't wait to see them fill the roster out some more. I'm loving everything I'm seeing design wise so far. Uh, yeah,
I'm
another
very
reason to be excited
excited.
for Evo.
I'm very excited to see some Marvel too, at Evo, because it's this, the guest game for this year. So um next we're gonna get into what we've been playing, and we've been playing a whole lot. I think this is like the biggest. We have like 4 or 5 games to talk about
Yeah,
across the
just
two of
doing
us.
some catch up right now.
Yeah, so let's start with. I'm gonna start with Shadow Labyrinth.
Let's do it.
Um, yeah, so shout out to Bandai Namco. They sent us both codes to check out the game. I got a Switch 2 code. Kevin got one on PC. So we're playing. We got 2 different perspectives there. Switch 2 version, great. I think it's really annoying, and it's going to be annoying for a while that we're getting these games with Switch 2 edition in its title. Like literally on the main menu, it says Nintendo Switch 2 edition. I'm like, why? Why? This is stupid.
I
It's
wonder
a
if
very
that's some
small
kind
thing.
of. I wonder if that's like a Nintendo mandate because it feels. I don't know if it would naturally be like, oh, we got to have Switch 2 edition in the titling on the like. That's a very interesting. I mean, it does solve the problem of people not like. Sometimes people are not great at knowing which version they've installed, so it's like, oh,
Yeah,
I can clearly see this is the Switch 2 version. Um,
that makes
but
sense
that
because
is
they did send me a Switch code with a Switch 2 upgrade pack. Like they didn't. It wasn't just like a Switch 2 game code.
right.
Um, so I played like the first hour or 2 so far. Um, and I did get to play about 30 minutes of the game at PAX East this year, and I really liked it. I really like the concept. It's very much you can very much see its inspirations of like Hollow Knight. Um, but conceptually, I'm very interested in like what is going on, because it starts off where you basically are like just a a gamer of sorts that gets like isekai'd into this game.
Yeah, I couldn't fully decide like how canon that because it's like the title screen. It's like not even part of the opening prologue that like you see that. It's like the title screen is someone playing, and then when you hit like new game, they get teleported or like they
Yeah,
disappear, and then the game starts. So I was like, is that like is that in universe? Is that happening right now? I don't know.
I think it is. I think it is
Yeah.
like a part of the story. And so your character, you don't talk, but you're supposed to be like this kind of like chosen one of sorts, even though apparently there's been 7 others that have come before you. Um, and then like, yeah, Pac-Man is a thing.
I mean, it feels very similar to like there's more going on, especially because there's like this whole like prologue part where you play as like the big monster thing you can do, like the mech.
Gaia, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but like I think having watched the secret level one like gives a little bit of a vibe of like where this is going or like what some of the plot is. Because like you can definitely see how the secret level episode and this are like pulling from the same kind of concept.
It would be interesting if like the secret level episode is like a prequel to this.
Like it's one of the like it's one of the
It's
past characters.
it's like the one before, yeah. Because like so basically like if you haven't watched the secret level episode, you should, because it's the best one.
It is
It's
one of
the
it
best
is
one.
one of the episodes of that show that was actually very good. Yeah.
It was very good. And it's basically like similar concept, like Pac-Man finds you and you're like going on this adventure to get to this location, and then you basically like find out that you know Pac-Man has been using you for like to achieve this goal, and that there's been like several other versions of you that have like already gotten to a certain point, and then like I think it ends by the player killing himself so that Pac-Man doesn't get what they want.
Yeah.
And so it would be a really interesting concept if like Shadow Labyrinth is just the continuation of that. And this is like the next one. So like this entire time that Pac-Man is secretly like the bad guy. But like I'm also curious as to like because you already run into these characters and they're just like talking to you and they're saying like, oh, you gotta stop doing this. And it's like, what is actually going on in this world and this story? In a tangible way. Like I don't want it doesn't feel like that type of game where it's just like, oh, you're kind of like you have like this blurred vision where you can like add some things, but like you can't really conceptualize everything into a cohesive narrative. I don't think that this is the type of game for that. Um, but that is they could be doing that. I don't know. I'm really interested to continue going on. Like combat is solid. Like everything, like I wish the movement felt a little bit better, but everything is totally solid. And
Yeah.
I'm very. It's really just like the story and like the world that makes me want to know more of and continue throughout.
Yeah. I'm probably not nearly as far as you. I've really just done like the very beginning of the game.
Hmm.
I've been digging it so far. The only thing that honestly really kind of bothers me is I don't care for like the UI style. It feels a little unpolished to me. Um, there's just a kind of a simplicity to it that I'm not vibing.
It is
Um,
pretty simplistic, yeah.
yeah. But like the concept, the combat, I love the like little playable Pac-Man segments and like having your different move set during that where you still have to like dodge and attack enemies while making your way in these rails. Like there's some really interesting ways of incorporating like Pac-Man gameplay into this Metroidvania that is otherwise just kind of a weird sci-fi dark almost apocalyptic feeling kind of story. Yeah, I'm digging it. I want to do more with that one. Juggling maybe a few too many games right now, but
There's so many games right now, dog. Like I don't yeah, like it's one of those things that I don't know when I'm gonna have an update on like, hey, so I'm playing more Shadow Labyrinth, but I'm really enjoying it. If you're looking for a good Metroidvania to play, I think it's definitely one worth checking out. I think people that like really don't know much about this game outside of like, oh, it's like this Metroidvania that has Pac-Man for some reason. I think you'll be surprised with like what that game is just doing. And yeah, so that is now available on basically everything. So, Kevin, what you been playing?
so one of the ones I can talk about because I was playing this actually last week, but it was under embargo, which lifted like literally the day the episode went live, but like way later than we would normally go live. So I just did not want to talk about it yet. No Sleep for Kaname Date, the
Let's
spin-off game
go.
for and Summoning Files. I have not finished it yet. I have quite a bit more to go. I've honestly really only been like scratching like the surface and getting through the opening bits. Um, but I dig it so far. I will admit I had a little hesitation with this release just because this is one where it is a Somnium File game, but Uchikoshi did not lead right on it. He had like oversight on the project, but it is like different people writing the story for this one. But the opening bits certainly feels like Somnium Files. There's some great tone there. The thing that really took me off guard, because I didn't really look that in depth at a lot of the early stuff. Like I saw them talk about it at the directs, and I mostly left it kind of there. Um, what I didn't realize is that this game is kind of a cross section of styles that Uchikoshi's games have been, because it is a Somnium File game and it has the Somnium File segments, but then it also has straight up escape room segments that are like the Zero Escape games. Uh,
I heard that. I heard
and
that.
like including bringing back, like, there are sound effects and there are music choices and there are things that are very clearly alluding back to Zero Escape stuff. That, like, the moment I did the first escape room and heard those things and had like the kind of presentation of like, oh, here's the escape room and it's done in the same style, I was just
Mm.
like neuron activated. I was just like I was so pumped the moment that happened. Where it was like, whoa, wait, I'm playing Zero Escape right now. Like I knew I was playing Somnium Files, but what the hell? Like, we're doing this suddenly, and I was super into it. It's really cool, like, having this cross section, because the game basically is divided into like three styles, three segments,
Mhm.
where you have the investigation phases, and those are where you get a bit more of your just like, main plot is being moved forward, interviewing characters, learning things, narratives actually being like progressed. And then you have the Somnium sections where it's, going into a person's psyche and doing that style of like having to solve puzzles and make the right choices. And that can, I think, still lead to diverging things. I haven't gotten to that just yet. And then there's the escape room segments that are escape rooms
Yeah.
that are so satisfying. Um, yeah, I want to. I definitely want to give an update on this when I'm like actually done with it, because a really significant aspect of a lot of these games to me is how they handle the twist. There's always a twist. There's always a weird revelation moment kind of thing. Um, that usually is very satisfying when it comes to stuff that Uchikoshi works on. So uh, that's like the next big thing I'm looking forward to. Like, I already know the bones here are good. Now I just need to see if the story is executed on properly through the whole thing. So far, very good.
I'm just really excited that we're playing as Date again. I love Date. So very excited about that. Um and shout out to Spike Chunsoft because they
Yes,
sent us
they did send me the
both
code.
codes.
Yes.
But I have not gotten to I literally got the code yesterday. So I have not even gotten to I haven't even put the code in to my Switch to download it. But I definitely am going to check that out as soon as I am able. Um I finished Lunar
Hey.
and I absolutely adored every second of it. I I am shocked that there's only two of these games in existence. Or like, you know what I mean. I know there's a
Right.
third one on DS, blah blah blah. But like this is a series that I feel like should be this long running series because it's just so like the worlds feel realized in ways that matter to me. The characters are so charismatic and you know again just fully realized characters. The localization, the writing is so good. um I it was when I finished that first game, I was just like I had a lot of thoughts. I was just, first off, like I honestly felt like you know that meme with from Top Gun Maverick where the dude's just like does like the
Yeah.
fist when he yeah, that was like me when the game ended. I was just like that was like so fucking good. Um and admittedly, I don't know if I would have enjoyed the game remotely as much if it wasn't for the like fast forward auto battling stuff.
Yeah.
That really made that game pacing wise go so much smoother because like I think on how long to beat it was like 30 hours. I beat it in 15.
Yeah. No, it's significantly
It
faster.
cut it in half.
Well, it's
Like,
it's not just the fast forward too. It's also the fact that they rebalanced like XP and levels. I don't know if they like gave you more
mm,
XP for fights or lowered the XP threshold for leveling up, but like it is a significantly less grindy game too. So it's like it's not just that the combats are faster, it's that you don't have to do nearly as many of them to keep up with like the challenge that bosses have and such. Uh
yeah, I only had to grind a little bit at the very end, like literally before the last boss.
Yeah, which
Like
is
I was
not
just like,
that is not how the older versions play. Like, you
no, no.
absolutely had to take some time like fighting enemies again and again and again to like keep up with the level curve of the older ones. So yeah, like we touched on this a little bit last week when Emily was on. Like, Lunar is one of those games where I do think like its biggest shining strength is the vibes, like the art style, the
Yes.
storytelling, even the
Yes.
voice acting, how it like contributes to it. Um, like even though I enjoy some of the challenge and approach of the original version, I would never say that like, oh man, the combat is what like made this game special. It's very stock. It has a couple interesting ideas with like how combat works and like unit placement. Like they actually do move around on the battlefield a little bit, but it's like, yeah, you have your characters fulfilling certain archetypes. You got your spellcasters, you got your healing, you get your frontliner, you get equipment and gear as you go through the game and level up. Nothing it does is particularly crazy from like a mechanical standpoint, but the story and the visual and just the heart of the game
Oh,
feels
the
very
heart of the
good.
game is so. And I've just come to realize that like I think like a lot of my favorite parties, because this is like definitely one of my favorite parties of all time
Mhm.
at this point. Is that like the characters like each character like represents something in the world again to make me care about the world. And we're not getting into spoilers because that's what Campfire Catalog is for.
Yeah.
But like I just like general thoughts like this was like a this was fucking incredible. Like what lunar tattoo am I gonna get? Because like I definitely want a lunar tattoo. Like honestly, like I'm thinking about I'm actually already thinking about potentially getting the Dragon Master helmet
Mm-hmm.
because because that's the thing that's like it's I think the Dragon Master helmet is like half super cool but half super goofy looking. There's no like there's no in between. It's like it looks really cool in a sense, but it also looks really goofy in a sense.
Hmm.
And you know, you have like the different armor pieces, but like the helmet is the thing for me, you know?
Yeah,
And there's
it's the kind of
yeah.
iconic look of the main character, like once he's
Yeah.
decked out in armor. Yeah.
It is one of there were like some plot twists that really shocked me. But then there were some plot twists that like I definitely knew was a thing. Like there was one of them that was like, "Oh, this is obviously this thing and like this you know
Yeah, no, it's one of those
but
very classic, like, you mean to tell me the obvious bad guy is the bad guy kind of moment where you're just like, yeah, I saw this, like, that, but this was telegraphed, right? Like, they wanted me to call this, right?
it's not even it's not even that. It's more so like the other like there's other things where it's just like where I felt that way, but it doesn't like hurt the game in
Sure.
any sense. Like it doesn't like make any sort of big moments weaker because of it.
Right.
And so yeah, I had a blast with it to the point where I've already played Lunar, like I already started Lunar 2, Eternal Blue. Again, I was just like, "Hey everybody, what if we just did Lunar? What if we did both of
Yeah.
the games? Cuz I'm going to play this no matter what. So we might as well just add it to the docket for Campfire Catalog." And then they're like, "Cool, yeah, let's do it." Um and I'm already really liking that. I really cuz again, like I will still stand by that um I feel less I'm less tough on it now than I was a week ago, but I still think like Alex could have been a bit better of a main protagonist. But I think that like his stuff with Luna was like so good that I was just like part of it was like, I don't it is what it is. But Hero already is just so like such a better like such a better main character because he actually talks and stuff, you know what I
Sure.
mean?
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, I feel like so much of
and
the original game, Alex's personality is he loves I can't remember her name right now, but like that's kind of
Luna.
the drive. Yeah, like that's the driving force immediately in that game.
Yeah.
And is much of his personality is like I want to be a dragon master and I love her, and like that's his plot. I would say the rest of the party is certainly it's rough too because the rest of the party is such strong personalities. Like they're all such very heavy tropes, but like in a good way.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I love how like what I really love about specifically Lunar is the first game is that it really just nails that the fantasy vibe. Like pure fantasy. I
yeah,
love it. And then like, you know, it's still very early, but I really am loving the sci-fi elements that's in Lunar too.
yeah.
Which is like, oh, we're changing it really feels I think the closest thing I could compare it to is Xenoblade. It gives me like some Xenoblade vibes.
Yeah, Xenoblade Star
Um,
Ocean as well, I think, to an extent. It does this
so
sort of
yeah,
like it's science fantasy, right? Like there's sci-fi elements, but there still is like you're using swords. There's still like that fantasy element going on at the same time.
yeah.
Um, but you get that little bit of science fiction in the mix as well. Uh,
The only thing that um I immediately noticed in Lunar 2 versus Lunar 1, Lunar 2 is like notably more difficult from the get-go. Like
huh.
I expected it to kind of be the same from so I was like, "Oh, auto battle go." Oh shit, I'm dead.
Yeah, I mean, a large part of that
Oh,
is in Lunar 2, you start off by yourself, I think, right? Because like Lunar gives you a party pretty quickly. Like they're like, hey, like here's like you have someone else with you at least. Whereas Lunar
yeah.
2 is like, hey, you're by yourself, like for a bit.
So yeah. So in the beginning you were by yourself and then you're with your grandpa and then you do like the first like real dungeon, but even then and most of the time grandpa's healing you
Yeah,
and I'm still like, it's still close. I'm like, "Oh, okay, so there's actually a bit more of a challenge in this one, which is exciting for me."
yeah.
But also weirdly, the UI in Lunar 2, they made it I don't like it compared to the first game. Like the first game, uh they made like the auto battle like the first but like it's just like it's right there.
Yeah.
In Lunar 2, you have to move over to do the auto battle. And it's not even called auto battle, it's called AI for some reason. And it's also the command button from the first game, but it's the auto battle in the very weird choices with that, like that I wish that they updated, but still really, really good. Like I did not expect to be this lunar pilled um after playing the first one. And I'm just started the second one, really enjoying it so far. Like if you are looking for like a low effort, chill, but really, really good JRPG, you should pick up that Lunar Remastered Collection because it's fantastic. I'm just having an absolute blast with it. And again, if you want to hear our in-depth spoiler thoughts, Campfire Catalog sometime before the end of September. Um, Kevin, do you have anything else outside of Donkey Kong Bonanza?
I do. Literally last night, which is part of why I was up late. I'm very behind on this. I finally played Chapter 3 of Deltarune.
Yes,
I
you
need
did
to
tell me about that.
replay it because Deltarune is one of those games where I like to just play each chapter blind initially, but then I know I'm going to redo it because it's like, okay, I probably
You
didn't
want to
recruit.
see
Well, I
where everything can.
well, especially with Deltarune, there's a lot of like completionist things that
Mhm.
you can do in your first run, but it seems like there may be a little more esoteric in chapter 3 because like 1 and 2 I was able to do most of the hidden stuff like on my first go. Like there's a secret boss in every one and that kind of thing. I missed that in chapter 3, I'm pretty sure. So I
Mm.
need to like restart that before I go into 4 because I want to like perfect the run for each save file basically. Uh but goddamn, what a game. Uh isn't it fucked up that we have to like live at the same time that Toby Fox is making things? And you just have to look at that and be like, yeah, like this man made this thing, and here I am doing whatever the hell I'm doing with my life. Like, just
You have a 835,000 subscriber YouTube channel. You're
yeah,
doing fine,
yeah,
Kev.
but Toby Fox is making like fucking art. like capital A art. That is also comedy of like the highest caliber. I just goddamn. Uh yeah, it is so good. So good. I know you haven't played any of Deltarune yet because you want to wait till it's like either complete or near complete, like one
Yes.
to go. But as
Yes.
someone who's been keeping up with each release, I think one of the really interesting things about Chapter 3 is that you can tell the additional time, as well as I believe he's now taken on more staff since the first chapter's released. Uh, it just feels like a bigger budget game in some ways. Like there's more happening here in terms of like from a game dev standpoint, where it's like, oh, like you're doing some fancier stuff that like we weren't seeing in the first couple chapters, and just change of pace a little bit too. Like it makes a lot of sense why 3 and 4 came out at the same time. Even though I haven't played 4 yet, just knowing what happens in chapter 3 now, I'm like, oh, okay, it makes sense why you wanted these together so I could immediately dive into this other one, because 3 is just a very, how do I put this? There's just a lot of things that happen very quickly out of the blue. Um in some really cool ways. Uh, while also having almost what feels like a beach trip episode vibe for parts. Like it's almost like a sillier game for a bit, and then it turns the knob out of nowhere. Uh, but there's like a whole bunch of like little different mini games in this one. Uh, it was just so freaking good to play, and just what a game. I am so curious how this whole thing is going to play out in like 7 games. Like regardless of whether or not the ending is nailed or, how certain mysteries pay off, just the experience of like each chapter being played through, and how they each experiment and kind of play within themselves a little bit. So goddamn good.
Dope. I'm excited to play it when I get to it, but I just don't want to. I don't know. I'm not because I'm not a big demo guy either. It's just like the same kind of concept. It's like, oh, I don't. I want the whole thing. Like I want to play the whole thing
I
now.
Yeah,
It does feel like Deltarune is kind of like this moment in time type thing where it's just like, oh, you just had to be there when these episodes specifically dropped, and
yeah.
then the conversations that happened around specifically this part of the game.
100%. I
I
I I
totally get that.
I equate it to, and I don't know if this was like Toby's intent from the start or not, because I think part of it is just the fact that he knew how long the full vision would take, and it's like that's just I'm not going to not release anything for that long. Um, but it reminds me a little bit of like how there are some shows I enjoy so much more in a weekly format than in a binge format. Like I almost feel like you have to make a show knowing which format it's being released in, because it impacts like how things should be paced. Uh, because like I'm sure eventually playing this game front to back is going to be a great experience. But I absolutely adore and love the building mystery that has been happening over years at this point. Uh
Yeah.
of
Mm.
like, getting the bits and pieces and seeing where it goes with each new chapter release. I personally love having kept up with it in this format, and I'm not going to try and be like shaming anyone that doesn't take that approach and like would rather wait for the full thing. But I personally think it's very worth investing in like playing now and keeping up with each release.
Yeah.
Play games the way you want to play them. I'll leave it at that. But
Yeah.
I just think
I
it,
even if
it
I wanted to, I don't have the time. I don't
no,
have the time
yeah.
right now.
Yeah, valid, valid. I guess more the point I want to make is that like I see some people talk about it like, oh well, this feels like I'm just playing like an early access thing, and I'm like, no, this isn't. This is not that. Like I get where
Yeah.
that worry comes from, but like there is an intentionality in what's being released, I think, in each chapter, where there is a bit of that hook to like wondering what's happening next.
Oh, for sure.
And it's not just like, oh, like, because I see some people complain about keeping up with some games in early access. Like I know a few folks that don't want to do Hades 2 until it's fully released, and like I get that, because that's like
That's
there's
me.
feature
That's
creep.
me.
Yeah. Like you're waiting for certain features, and like a lot of the plot stuff, they're not really seeding in that kind of way. It's you're waiting till it is a complete game, and like that makes more sense to me. With Deltarune, while there has been some like minor patches and adjustments to each chapter as time has gone by, uh, each chapter has felt like a complete experience in and of itself, like until the
Okay.
next one. It's not just like you didn't hit a wall where it's suddenly now, oh, you wait to come back later when the game is more worked on. No, like you get a credits roll, you get the chapter end, like there is an
Yeah, it's like
intentionality to how it's
Telltale.
based.
It's
Yeah,
like Telltale.
yeah, just
Yeah.
over years instead of months.
Yeah. And Telltale, I did the same thing. I was like, oh, this is done now? Cool. I'm gonna play through it all. But yeah, you know, I do want to play Deltarune really bad. I was actually talking with some friends about this is like because I really, really, really want to play 100 Hero. Uh or 100 line.
Yeah,
Sorry, 100 line.
I followed.
Um and I'm just like, what are the games that I like definitely want to beat before the end of this year? And I'm just like, oh, I really want to play AI the Somnium Files. I really want to play, Trails, obviously. Um, Pokemon Ghost of Yote. Um, Death Stranding 2, but I need to play Death Stranding 1 first. I need to finish that actually proper for the first time. There's so many games that I want to play that I'm just, and on top of like our campfire catalog stuff, just like I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. So
Right.
um
Yeah, I will
yeah.
say, like, unless you want to do multiple replays and get obsessive about like making a perfect save file, Deltarune is not a particularly long game. Like each
Mm,
chapter is a couple
couple hours.
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I started and finished chapter 3 last night, and that was a blind playthrough, not knowing what I'm doing. And I think my save clocked in like just over 3, and that
Mm,
felt longer than some of the other ones. Like I replayed chapter 1 and 2 like a month or two back, and like that took no time.
hmm. Okay. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah.
Probably
Play
not, but
yeah, play
maybe.
at your pace the way you want to.
Yeah. Uh Donkey Kong Bonanza. We've been playing it a bit.
I have not been playing it a bit.
I've been playing it a bit. Um so I wanna preface this by saying that I think that this is a fantastic game. I think I've come to the conclusion with me and 3D platformers that no matter how good the game is, like just like straight, like just knowing, like, oh, this is a great game. I'm like, neat, and then I just like, and then I'm good.
Is
I'm
there
just
like
like not even that, not
is
even I'm
there
good, and like I don't need to play it anymore. But like just like I know that this game is not going to like I'm not gonna finish it and being like, this is one of the greatest games ever made. Like,
sure.
and I know that's a thing for a lot of people, especially in the 3D platformer space. Where like, especially when a new Nintendo 3D platformer comes out, like this is the new one of the greatest games of all time, and I just like I don't think so at all.
I
Like
have I have one mutual I think that actually did post like never mind game of the year, this is top 3 of all time. Um
yeah, and I'm just like you cannot convince me like that I'm going to feel that way at the end of this game.
is
Like
there
it
any 3D platformer that's like left an impression on you?
Super Mario 3D World. That's a 10 out of 10 game for me. Like that is one of my favorite games of all time. That's like definitely in my top 25. No, I literally made a tweet or a post on Blue Sky similar to this, being like, I think I've come to the conclusion like 99% of 3D platformers, I'm like neat,
Yeah.
and then I probably won't change my opinion more than that. Um, the 1% is Super Mario 3D World. That game for me is just like
Interesting.
I love it.
No,
I
it's a
think it's
great, and like I'm not gonna be like, oh, like why did you pick the shittiest 3D game? No, like it's a really good game. It's just interesting that like that is the one. Like with so many
yeah.
others out there that are fantastic, like
And,
that's just like the only
I'm
one
not
that
saying
clicked
any
with
of them.
you.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying any of them aren't fantastic.
yeah,
It's just like I just think in general, I don't think the 3D platformer genre does a whole lot for me. And I also think that like I'm not crazy about just this era of Nintendo, because like Donkey Kong Bonanza very much is like, hey, let's mix this part of Breath of the Wild, this part of Super Mario Odyssey, and like let's make Donkey Kong Bonanza. And
yeah.
that's great. Is that's great for those that want that. That doesn't that's not compelling for me.
Mhm.
Like that's not compelling for me. But like again, there's still things that like I'm still very early in the game. There's things that like I saw from the direct that I found really interesting and really enticing that made me want to pick up this game day one, that I very much still would like to see come to fruition. But I think that I think that the moments that like really do it for me, and admittedly, totally um totally optional, not a mandatory thing. But it also just like makes me realize like, oh, y'all are just like the way that people that do this feel about these games, I just do not get. I just
Mhm.
that's just not me. I'm not programmed that way.
Right.
It's just like I remember I saw Gene Park post something where he's like, "Oh, I'm at 862 bananas," and I'm like,
Couldn't be me.
absolutely fucking not.
Yeah.
Absolute no game is that good. I'm sorry. Like no game is that good for me to invest all that time to get these collectibles, and like granted, at least like in this game, those collectibles go to something, right? You every 3 bananas you collect, or 5 bananas, you get a
Like a
skill
skill
point.
point, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like cool. Like there's something behind these that matter now in a real way that evolves the gameplay. But I saw that shit and I'm like, first off, how the fuck do you have the time? I know that is your job, but like dog, like you're one of the front facing like gaming journalists. Like, how do you have the time to actually put that much into that game to
Yeah.
have that
And
many bananas?
as
But
I
like,
understand, they are everywhere. Like there's a ton of them, but
oh yeah,
I haven't. Yeah.
it's very similar to like the moon stuff. But like, I mean, I played like 2 to 3 hours. I mean, granted, the intro is like the setup stuff is a little long,
Yeah.
but like I still have only found like maybe 10.
I mean, I imagine there's a degree of ramp up, especially once you're like in the
Sure.
later parts of the game. I'm sure once you have certain abilities or something, it becomes a lot easier to like just begin tearing through, uh, getting more of them. Um, yeah, I haven't started it yet because I haven't picked it up yet. I'm actually grabbing it literally later today, Tuesday, the day we're recording. So I'm excited to dive in for myself because, obviously we've been seeing the reaction we have. I do suspect, knowing my tastes and what I like, I'm probably going to walk away very much enjoying it, but maybe not as like my game of the year pick.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I have. So you're only a few hours in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I will say something I've seen a sentiment from a few people is that there's a specific area called, I think it's the Divide, and that's like the go time moment. Like the game is
Oh,
good,
okay.
and
That's where the
then
game
once you
like
get,
picks up.
it's like yeah, that's where you get to that point in the game, and you're like, oh, like this is where it's really going now.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
I've
I
seen
have
that
not gotten
sentiment,
there
and
yet,
that
so
yeah, I've seen that specific area mentioned by a few people as like the go time moment. So I definitely want to
yeah.
like get to that part before like thinking more on it. But
Also, the default controls are not great. Like, I'm not saying that they're bad,
I've
but
seen
like
so many videos
they're
of people.
weird.
I've seen so many videos of people where they mean to interact with something and then accidentally punch it or like grab it, and it's like, oh
Yep.
god, I just ripped off someone's face. I'm
Yep.
sorry, I didn't mean to do this.
But yeah, because like, again, and I I am I am friends with Logan. He did the review for IGN. He gave it 10 out of 10. Apparently it's his fourth favorite game of all time. But I saw his post being like, I have found every banana gem, banandium gem, fossil outfit, which you just use the fossils to
Yeah.
buy the outfits, and record in Donkey Kong Bonanza. Couldn't be me, dog. Could not be me. That could be the best game ever made. Could not be me. Like I just
Yeah, you just don't play
I,
games
I
that way. That's fine.
it's one of those things where like, yeah, I'm not a collectathon guy. I used to be a huge achievement guy. I used to, but like I'm at the point in my life now. I'm like, I would just rather experience more stuff.
Sure.
Um, but like I think it's the thing with like creativity versus like the gameplay of it all. And it's just like, oh yeah, like is this game super creative and does a lot of cool things? Absolutely. But like ultimately all I'm doing is just kind of trying to find these bananas and like that's there's a
We
story there as you progress
yeah.
through, but like
Well, your
that's
motivation is story, whereas Donkey Kong Bonanza is a more gameplay forward title. Not to think there isn't a story and not like an ending that can be very good, because I've seen a lot of praise about like the ending of the
it's
game
not
as
even
well.
it's not
Like
even that like it's not even that I need like a story. Like I don't go to most Nintendo games to experience a story. It's more so that just like what is the creativeness of like what the creativity, what is that tapping into when it comes to gameplay? And I just don't think that the creativity that they're implementing into the gameplay is particularly like something that's gonna keep me that I'm just like frothing at the mouth over, I guess, in a lot of Mario games. Or not Mario, Nintendo games. Mario applies to that, but
Yeah, well,
yeah.
especially because this is, I mean, while this is Donkey Kong, it is kind of a spiritual successor to Odyssey in some ways, as I understand it, especially because it is the
Also,
same team.
one thing I will say, Donkey Kong Bonanza even strengthens my opinion that Stamina and Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom bullshit. Just should not exist because you can climb anything in this game.
Yeah,
And let me tell you, it's so much nicer than having the bullshit stamina in those games.
sure.
So, yeah. But anyway, I've enjoyed it. So, I'm enjoying it. I don't know when I'm going to get back to it because again, just too many games, but I do want to play it. I do want to see it through. Like I'm still very much interested in it. I know it sounds like I was very down on this game, but I'm not. It's
Yeah.
just
Well,
these are just kind of like just general revelations that I've just kind of come to accept about myself.
you're enjoying the game, but you're realizing you're not enjoying it in the same way that clearly a lot of other people are.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things like I've just accepted that my brain is not wired the same way as these people.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
I'm very curious to see how I land on it. Like I said, I'm picking it up later today, so I'll probably be able to talk about it next week. After putting a dent in it, because yeah, I'm curious to see how my brain reacts to it compared to yours. Is where I'll leave it at.
Yeah, I'm excited to I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it. And you know, I feel like I've done a bad thing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't
Go in
know.
the games
Uh,
journalist corner.
yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, great game. Fantastic game. Uh Now we're gonna get into the topic of the show, being the future of Pokemon. Just basically talking about what we would like to see, what we think we're gonna see, our criticisms, a little bit more in depth,
Sure.
and things that they can work on. And we talked about this a little bit in earlier in the show, and I want to definitely talk about Gen 10 and kind of like what I would like Gen 10 to look like
Sure.
because I think we've already seen them, whether it be in Legends or in Gen 9, make this shift to make Pokemon a little bit more open world, um, and making it a little bit more personable in the kind of ways that you, the player, can choose where to go and what to do and what order to do them and things like that. And I've been really enjoying that aspect of Gen 9 as I've been playing through Scarvi. There's some things that like I think there's some things that are just a little bit too basic. Like there are certain like bases that you go to in Scarvi, and it's really just like a field with buildings, and then there's some trainers there, and it's just like, oh, okay. Like I know this is technically a base, but I just wish it was a little bit more interesting in that sense.
Yeah.
Um
I mean, I feel like that's like a recurring problem in Scarvi in general. Is that like, there are some specific towns and cities that feel like they're interestingly designed and have like a bit of character to them.
yeah.
But oh boy, is there just a lot of like, yep, kind of just barren, grassy areas that you have to walk through and then like fight these guys here. And like it just doesn't, there's not a lot of like memorable set piece locations, especially in the earlier parts of the game. Uh, I think that feeds a little bit into kind of the art style graphical approach too of like just Pokemon in the 3D era. Because that's even the thing, right, with like the Switch 2 update is that like it makes it so much better performance wise. Uh, but
Visually,
clearly,
it's about yeah.
yeah, there's only so much you can fix. And visually, that game is just so flat feeling. And um, I would definitely say that's like one of my largest hopes for like especially if they have more time with it and they want to make a big deal out of like Gen 10 because it's the 10th gen. And I think, you know, if it comes out next year, I believe that's the 30th anniversary. So like there's a very like that can be a very momentous kind of release. Uh and I would love to see a Pokemon world that just feels a little bit more polished. Like I don't even care about production value that much. Um, but like if your goal is to make a large explorable 3D world, I need to think it looks cool. Like I just need to like I'm not asking for like realistic graphics or anything, but just like have a sense of life to the world that I just haven't really been feeling.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think they're trying to find that balance to make the mainline still feel like a mainline game without feeling like a Legends game.
Sure.
Because there's definitely like key similarities there, and I think where it's going to differentiate itself is through like the gameplay in the sense of like what you're doing in those worlds. Um, and I think that I agree with you. The environments and the visual aspect of Scarby is a weak point. I do think that there are like things and events that happen in that game that I really enjoy that I'm just like, oh, like this is a memorable like type moment.
Sure.
Like when you fight like I forgot what they're called, but like the bigger Pokemon. Um and like I and one of them I didn't even particularly try to find. I just ran into, which was like the big sand crab. And it's just like up against the rock, and I was like, "Whoa! Like this is really cool. Like this is
Yeah.
just like a, you know, big ass Pokemon." Um, there are there are still those like moments that I really enjoy, but then there are other instances where it's like, "Oh yeah, like the gym, like first gym, I'm ready to do like these gym battles," and it's just like, "Oh, actually, we need you to roll this like olive into a basket over there, and then you can fight the gym leader." I'm like, what does that have to do with becoming a gym, like getting a gym badge, like or becoming a Pokemon champion, like
Yeah.
you know,
It was a
and
very
so
wonky introduction, like especially compared to like I have my problems with Sword and Shield, but I think something that it did that was kind of fun was like it really nailed making the gym battles like interesting because it does this whole like you're in a stadium and it's like a big event that like someone is challenging the gym
mm,
leader and like there's an energy to that that you just do not get at all in Scarvi.
no, no, and like I thought that part in Sword and Shield was like fine. I thought the uniforms were weird or the outfits that you had to wear. I was like, do I have to really wear this just because I'm battling someone? Um, but I I just want Gen 10 to again just build off of Gen 9 and make those changes that um don't, at least on paper, feel super significant to shift around to make those yeah, to make those improvements. And I'm curious as to what they're going to do to like it's tough because I one of the things, and we again I talked to some friends about this like earlier, is that I think a big mistake that Pokemon did, pretty, I wouldn't say super early on, but like around the halfway point of its life, was it put too many eggs in the competitive basket, where like they design a lot of the game around the competitive side of
Hmm.
things. Which is why we have like mega evolutions and Z moves and Gigantamaxing and Terrasilize. Like they're introducing these new mechanics that sure do make certain things feel fresh from like the just general battle aspect, but I think is ultimately to change up the
Meta.
competitive space.
Yeah.
And that sucks because most of your consumers are not competitive players, and I I just wish that they decided to not make as much of a commitment in that space moving forward, and I don't think that's going to change. It's like it's really weird. We're in this space where Pokemon feels like it is focusing most of its efforts on like the competitive space, and then just like the broadest basket possible of potential consumers. Where it's like, you know, you said that they were investing a lot in the mobile space because like anyone can like can really step into that, and everyone basically knows Pokemon. And so it's just like, oh, there's a Pokemon thing on my phone. I'm gonna download this. Um, and like from a business standpoint, I can understand it, but there, like, when you take, when you give something, you're taking away from something else. And I just feel like that for a lot of people, not, you know, not everyone, but for a lot of people, including I would say ourselves, that grew up with this franchise and fell in love with this franchise, we're still ultimately pretty much focused on the main line or the main video game stuff, where we're getting the more traditional experiences. I'm not saying that there can't be other things, but these other things just feel so, I don't want to use the word random, but they just feel like, who is this directly serving outside of just anyone? You know what I mean? Like anyone, this Pokemon Sleep, that works for anyone. Anyone sleeps. Everyone sleeps. Or, and that's why like things like Pokemon Unite are okay with me, because like, oh, no, you made a Pokemon MOBA and it is competent, it does its thing, and it works, and people that like it, and like that's awesome. And like Pokemon Cafe Remix, like I get this. Like I get why you're doing this. But then there's these other things that Pokemon does in the gaming space, in the mobile space, where it's just like, but why do this? Like,
Yeah.
why do this when you could be doing other things that like are providing to a direct audience who wants these things? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and actually, it ties a little bit into something I want to talk about when it comes to the future of the game, which is sort of like the the greater library of Pokemon games and what that looks like right now. Because there was a time when I think there was a lot of very interesting experimentation with side titles, and we've lost a lot of that in exchange for still experimentation, but getting into things that are more kind of like long term price scaling kind of options, like in the mobile space with stuff like Cafe Remix and Unite. And
Yeah,
of all those, I actually do think Unite is like the most interesting thing they did. I think getting into
absolutely.
the MOBA space, like there's just a little bit more going on there. Um, but I look back at like especially the DS years, and how many interesting different Pokemon games we were getting that were playing with the IP in different ways that just isn't happening anymore. Like I've mentioned this before, where I'm a really big fan of like the collaborative titles they did in the past, which like the last one we really got, not counting remaking Mystery Dungeon, was Pokken, and that was a Wii U game. Like that sat out the entirety of, other than getting a Switch port, like we didn't really get any other releases in that vein moving forward. Where I'm thinking of when we got games like Pokemon Conquest, multiple Mystery Dungeons, the Ranger games. Like there were all these very interesting plays on making like additional single player, or at least limited multiplayer Pokemon side titles that I think had their own strong identities. And now it really feels like the lineup is mainline game, remake game, and this new experimental, like, if we did mainline different, here's these other like 3D games that aren't beholden to the core rules of like fighting gym leaders in order or whatever, which is what we're getting with Arceus and NZA. The only other one that maybe is still alive is Detective Pikachu after the last one had how many delays before finally dropping. Um, it just feels like so much of like the side game spin-off aspect of Pokemon has been dropped in favor of that greater mobile focus, which, as you said, I don't think that like shouldn't exist or anything like that. Like I think there's some good stuff that's come out in that space, but it's a balance thing, right? Like
Yeah.
I just don't care about this many different daily login or long-term investment Pokemon games versus like, can I get like a cool new like one-off release? Just something different where
Yeah.
it's just a game I can play from start to finish and it's not about building up my long-term live service profile, which like maybe Pokemon Friends kind of is, but even that is sounding like it might be a long-term thing with the DLC packs, and it's a puzzle game featuring Pokemon faces. It's not like an interesting new Pokemon game, in the same way.
Yes. And yeah, and when Pokemon is again, no, it's hard to give it's hard to give the company grace when it's the biggest IP in the world.
Sure.
Like I'm not saying that it's the biggest company in the world, but it is the biggest IP in the world. And so there's you can do more because again, like I'm not against everything in the mobile space either. Like Pokemon Go, like that was an event. Like I am happy I was able to witness the first month of Pokemon Go
Mhm.
because there was nothing else like it. I remember I went to I was visiting in Vegas and I went to like Sunset Park. There were like people like in their team gear. There were flags, people walking around like as you know what I mean? Like just otherworldly type stuff that I never thought I would see. And this was the point where like there was a small pool of Pokemon and there were certain Pokemon that were super rare. So like people were like, "Oh, there's like an Alakazam over by the baseball field." And you just see like a zombie movie,
Yeah.
dog, like hordes of people
Oh, the
running
the
to
first like
go to this area.
the first like month of that game being out was like society shifting. Like we all kind of
Yes.
it resumed more normal like within a year later, but the first couple weeks of Pokemon Go being a thing and how many people hopped on, I mean, they had to make updates to the game because of like actual real issues that started coming up where it's like, hey, maybe don't cross fences and go to certain restricted zones because they happen to have a Pokestop. Like, don't do that, please. uh,
Yeah.
yeah, that was an experience, and like that stuff is cool. Like again, like I think the mobile space stuff like does have like merit and value. It's just like we can have other things too. I don't know.
Hmm.
It's rough.
Yeah. And like again, I've said it before on this podcast several times. Pokemon Pinball. Like that is a mobile thing that you could bring back that makes sense. Like again, I don't want it to be a mobile game. I don't want it to be like, hey, here's it starts with the free entry or $5, $10 entry, you get the Kanto tables and the Kanto decks. And then one by one we get new tables, new generations. I would shut up and take my money, dog. Like shut up and take my fucking money. I would spend all the money on that. All the money on that. And but it's one of those things where like we we as consumers like make up these ideas that make so much sense, but because they make so much sense, the company's not going to do it. And it's just like, come on. And I just don't understand. Like that is an easy money grabber. Easy money grabber is Pokemon Pinball on your phones. Like I would love a Switch version as well cuz normally they do that, but if at the very least like just and I'm
Well,
not a mobile guy.
yeah, and not to
I'm not a
mention
mobile
like
guy.
vertical is perfect for a pinball game. Like that's just
Yes.
that's the way a pinball machine looks. So like it makes more sense in that visual style.
Yes. And so that's the whole thing. Um I And I don't think that these are things that we're jaded on saying. Like, I don't think it's just yeah, because we're like the oldies that like grew up with Pokemon, that were just like, old man's like
Well,
yelling,
I mean, I think there is
in the
maybe
sky.
something. Yeah, there's maybe something to be said about generational shifts and like what we care about in terms of like what kind of games we want to
Sure.
see made and that kind of thing. But I don't think this is just like, oh, in my day we had good Pokemon games. Like, I mean, it is a little bit that, but but
It is a little
like
bit that.
it is a little bit that. But like, I think it is based on actual observation of like, hey, there's just like been choices in the direction of these games moving forward. That's just like kind of been a problem, and I would say especially the kind of um going back to Scarvi a little bit and what I would hope to see for Gen 10, just like that dialing in a presentation. I think since shifting to 3D, it's been a tougher battle for them to like maintain making the kind of fully realized worlds they want to make at the scale they want to. And it worked out more okay with Gen 6 and 7 because I think being limited to the 3DS, the smaller screen size, not needing to worry about
Interesting.
certain like texture details and stuff as much, I think worked out. I still like honestly just and this would not happen. This is never going to happen. But if this was a talk about like my dream of where Pokemon goes, I would vastly prefer a return to like Gen 5 top down, but even greater pixel detail and going back with like that kind of aesthetic.
Oh,
And that's not
sure.
happening. Um,
No.
but like that aside, you looking at how they've handled 3D, I just don't think they've really ever tackled a great looking 3D world. I think 6 and 7 worked
Hmm.
better on that particular platform, and then the moment we went to Switch, we were able to get like a large screen, especially docked. It just doesn't work the same, and they
Huh.
keep trying to reach grander and grander scale, and not being able to keep up with that with the kind of production timeline this series has had. Because, like we said, look like while I have issues with Gen 8, I think Sword and Shield does have a slightly more realized feeling world, and there's more interesting
I agree.
locations.
I
Partially because
agree.
it did restrict itself a little bit more with like where you could go and how the map was done. It was a little more traditional. When Scarvi went full, open world aesthetic, uh, there's some cool mechanical things that have come a result of that, but the environment we got as a result, like they just couldn't populate or make it interesting, I think, or memorable in a strong way, outside of some very specific set piece areas and like particular parts that, have a memorable moment attached.
Yeah. I I at first I was like, I don't know if I agree with you, but then when you talked about like how, the production budget and like the timelines that it takes for games to be made nowadays, that's when I was just like, okay, I understand where you're going with this.
Yeah,
And I agree with you there. I did think that Sword and Shield looked good. Um and I was thought the environments looked pretty flat in this one. Uh, I've enjoyed the my time with Scarvi, but no, you're making a really good point, and I'm curious as to how they're going to try and amend that, unless they just decide to kind of stick to a very specific style Gen 10 moving forward, like just kind of like bettering up the environments a little bit, like now that the Switch 2 is going to be
yeah.
a
I mean,
thing.
it's like they made one open world game, so hopefully that means there's a better production pipeline in place if they want to do that style again. We based on the current track of this year, I mean, we're not getting Gen 10 this year, so that is a
No.
longer development cycle, at least from mainline game to mainline game. I don't know how other games releasing may have impacted what available staff and resources there were, but there has been more time between whenever Gen 10 releases, and how long there was between, Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet, or Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon. Like this is a longer
Also,
window. So
yeah, also Game Freak is working on another game. Like
yeah,
a notably like big game. Like when it comes to visuals and things like that. So who knows where that how that affects things.
sure.
Um but I also it's interesting because you were mentioning the kind of the visual aspects of it too, or like in the 3D space, because like I I know that I'm uh in the minority here, but like I thought the Sinnoh remakes were solid. They were definitely safe, right? They weren't like what people they weren't Heart Gold Soul Silver, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I know that people are pretty divisive on uh Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. I personally think they're not good remakes, and I know some people that really like them.
Yeah.
Um, but I did enjoy my time with uh Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and like I personally wouldn't be upset if the Unova remakes are in a similar uh you know look similarly
Yeah.
and present similarly in that sense.
I will say, as a fan of Gen 4, particularly Platinum, my issues with, because I am not a fan of Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, nothing to do with the visual aspect. Like the visual design of that remake, I'm totally fine with. Like I know
The
some
lack
people
of,
didn't like that.
was it
Um,
the lack of the platinum content
oh,
or
100%.
okay,
Because you
okay.
have, because Heart Gold and Soul Silver took all the crystal content and then just resplit it into a two version approach. Whereas Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl was, hey, what if we got rid of all the changes and updates that Platinum made that were also
That made
definitely
it one of
changes
the
for the
best
better? Yeah,
Pokemon games, yeah.
like a pretty significant leap, honestly. And just got rid of all of that for like one-to-one faithful remakes, which is not what people I think even really want out of remakes, like for Pokemon at
Yeah.
least. Like none of them until that one were faithful remakes. Like Fire Red and Leaf Green had some big changes over Red and Blue. Uh,
Oh, for sure, yeah.
and
Um,
then, for Gen 4, they were just like, hey, what if we just didn't push the needle forward anywhere?
no, that's totally fair, and I totally understand that, and I think, like, the reason why it didn't really affect me is because I still have yet to play Platinum. I need to do that, but,
Yeah, you
and
don't have that
because
attachment to that one. Yeah.
another part of it was that I did play the Pearl version back when I was a kid, and I was very underwhelmed to the
Yeah.
point where I was like, I'm just
No,
gonna wait for the next gen."
and look, I'm not so in it that I'm gonna have a list ready for you, but I distinctly recall playing Diamond like back in the day because that was like how I got back into Pokemon, was that I knew a bunch of people playing Diamond and Pearl. I was like, all right, I'm gonna give it another shot. Like I enjoyed it, like it was fine. And then Platinum came out very shortly after, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna pick up the third version. Let's go for it. And like I immediately loved it so much more. I can't get into, like, I just don't remember what all the updates and changes were off the top of my head. I just remember playing them back to back and immediately being like, "Oh, this is a significantly better version of this game."
That's fair. No, that's totally fair. Um, but yeah, so yeah, in general, like when at least in the gaming space of Pokemon, I just wish that they offered more that had a direct audience, instead of just being like, "Oh, here's a thing that everyone may potentially play." And when it comes to the game aspects, like, I think we've even just like outside of this topic of the show, we talk about it pretty often. It's just like, hey, this is what we would like the main line to figure out, and um, there's other things too where like I wouldn't have mind if they kept continuing the Let's Go series. Like
Yeah,
I thought they were solid. Like Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and it gives them another line to kind of remake those experiences, but just through a different lens.
sure.
Um, and some people may not want that, but I mean, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee sold well enough. So
Yeah,
I don't think.
I don't know, like in the grand scheme, like I feel like there are other projects I would want instead of continuing Let's Go. But
Oh, 100%.
if there was like another Let's Go, if they did like a Let's Go Johto, I'd be totally down, right? Like that'd be something I would be excited for. But yeah, I think it seems so far that that's dead in the water. I think Legends games have kind of taken over being the new, like, bigger spin-off game right now. At least based on the fact that we're at ZA after Arceus.
Yeah. Uh, no, I don't think there's going to be another Let's Go game, unfortunately. But there are other spin-offs and like ongoing series. Like we haven't gotten a new mystery dungeon since Gen 6. Like Super Mystery Dungeon, I believe, was the last one outside of the remake of the first of the originals. Like that should come back. I know a lot of people that really love that series. Um, well, would never happen, but a new Pokemon Conquest would be dope, or a remake of the original. That'd be really dope. Um, there's just like so much opportunity to like easy stuff. I would like, that I think that they could do that just they aren't doing, and I think that they need to do those things. I don't know I don't know how to say it any more analytically. Like
Right.
it's just
Yeah, it's just, yeah. If only people did the things that I liked, this would all be so much better. No.
I I understand. I
No,
understand
I
that's
know, I
how.
know.
No, I understand that's how it sounds. I understand how it sounds. But
No, but, like,
I
I
just think,
also agree with you because I like those things too, so
yeah. No, I just think overall we're just in a place where the Pokemon Company is just kind of doing the same stuff over and over again, and a lot of the things that the games that they're like providing uh are not super like I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious how many people watch a Pokemon Presents specifically wanting like, and again, this is a game that I think is totally fine, and like I'm not mad that it exists. That is like wanting an uh looking for the update for the next like for Pokemon Cafe Remix.
sure.
Like who's tuning into Pokemon Presents specifically to get an update on Pokemon Sleep?
Right.
No one.
Yeah.
No one. And that's the
Yep.
problem.
Yeah, well, and I think and maybe this is also just like we're stuck in a part of the cycle that's like kind of a downturn, and we're just because like I would say uh, there's a lot of excitement for ZA. Like I think a lot of people are looking forward to it. I do think
Absolutely.
it doesn't feel quite the same as the excitement there was for Arceus. Only because Arceus was like a new thing, and ZA,
Hmm.
while being like a continuation that is very different. I mean, they're changing the combat system pretty heavily. Like it's Legends in name, but it is a fairly different game again. Um, but I think because Arceus kind of broke ground on that already, there's this kind of like waiting of like when is the next like new thing from Pokemon?
Yes.
You know, like
Uh, uh,
something that's just different out of the current cycle we've been in now for 4 or 5 years, longer even really.
yeah. Absolutely agree with you, and I mean, so I guess out. Do you think we're gonna get both Gen 10 and Unova remake announcements next year?
I don't think we'll get both. I mean, okay, both announced next year in general. Yes, I
Yes.
don't think that's at the same time. I think Gen 10 is like in the early part of the year, and then five remakes are like near the end of the year.
Mm,
Because I think we want to go through the. I don't think they would want to talk about Gen 5 remakes until like Gen 10 is actually like out. So assuming
mm.
that comes out like kind of like fall holiday season, um, I could see talking about five after that. I don't see them like because that's even what happened with like Arceus and Scarvi, right? Like Scarvi had a very short announcement to release window because they waited till Arceus was out or about to be out. No,
Yeah.
it was after, yeah, because Arceus dropped in like late January, and then February was, oh, by the way, Scarlet Violet is happening this year. That's on its way too. Um, yeah,
I think I th I w I would have agree with you if it was like the Sinnoh remake and Gen 9 that played a part, because like with Legends, it was a new IP technically,
yeah,
um, that that made a lot more sense where they were like, "Hey, we're gonna hold off." Um, with a remake, I think people as someone who like especially with Gen 5 and someone who's like kind of a Gen 5 hater,
yeah.
I'm still gonna buy the Gen 5 remake day one as well as the
Yeah.
Gen
I
10
I guess it
day
also
one. Like,
I guess it also depends on what form that remake takes, right? Because here's the thing, going back
mm,
to what I was saying about my problems with uh, Pearl and Diamond remakes, is that with Fire Red, Leaf Green, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, those all felt, even though they were remakes, they kind of
distinctly
felt like,
different.
well, but they also felt like continuations of that gen, right? Like there were ways that Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby played with coming out after X and Y. There are ways where Fire Red, or there are ways that Fire Red and Leaf Green played with coming after Gen 3. They played a little bit with being like games in that gen, while also being remakes of the game they came from. Even Heart Gold Soul Silver, they give you a way to get the starter from Sinnoh, like as
Oh,
part of it.
well, Hoenn.
Or Hoenn, yes. No. In Heart Gold Soul Silver, there's a way to get a Chimchar or a it's like late game, I think, but I recall that at least. Maybe I'm misremembering.
I know that
Um,
you meet Steve in a Pokemon Center, and he
yeah,
gives you and he lets you choose between one of the Hoenn starters.
yeah. Maybe that's what it was. Yeah, and that was a way of completing like all your starters from up to up to that point. But anyways, like they felt like they were continuing releases that like built out that generation. Whereas
Mm.
again, Shining Pearl and Diamond felt very disconnected from other releases. It was just sort of like, hey,
Oh
we
yeah,
made a faithful remake. It's its own thing. There you go. So if Unova remakes are that same kind of like lower investment, safe remake, sure. Announce that side by side with Gen 10 and those come out and you're not that worried about it. But if it's like a proper, more heavily invested in remake that has
yeah.
a bit more of its stuff going on, then I would see waiting till Gen 10's actually out to then announce that. It just depends on what type of remake they do.
Yeah, I think just based off of kind of what you said with like kind of the production budget stuff, like I don't see it happening. I don't see it being like this Gen 9 but Unova, you know,
Sure.
level of production. Um and honestly, I don't even know if I want that. Like that's the thing that I found refreshing about uh Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl is like, oh, this is like presented traditional Pokemon style, like the shit that I grew up with.
Right.
And for me, I was like, this is what I would want from a Sinnoh remake. And again, we as we said, the issues weren't the uh the presentation, the visuals, it was the content. And so I think that if they do it very similarly, but they that's the thing that's tough though, right? Is because like Unova actually had a sequel. So how do you go about
Yeah.
remaking those games and giving the story of both Unova and of both Black and White and Black and White 2?
Yeah. Especially because Black
That is,
White.
I think, the
Yeah.
big hurdle they need to figure out.
Especially because 2 is the better one. So it's just
Yeah,
like,
and for the
like,
yeah, exactly. Like Black and White was like terrible for me. I was like, this is bad. And then but Black and White 2, again, like, one of my friends was like, dog, I know that Black and White was not it,
yeah,
but Black and White 2 is
significant.
one of the best Pokemon games. And I'm
It's my
like,
second favorite after Heart Gold is over. Like, it's so good.
it's my third favorite after
Top 3 though is
uh
still, yeah, like that's high
but
praise
I
to
haven't
like
played
go back
Platinum.
on that. Ah,
So that's the thing.
yeah.
Yeah. But you think Black and White 2 is better than Platinum?
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
But,
Um
like
yeah, it's really
if
great.
we're counting it as a mainline release, like, it might be my favorite, like, even though there's a lot of things about it I don't like, I really did not care for the starter set in Gen 5. Um,
Oh, terrible.
but
Terrible.
yeah, and, like, the new Pokemon designs that gen were, like, fine, but as far as just, like, a game, like, the progression of it, the story, the
Yes.
events, and everything, it was really freaking good.
It was
I
really
I
good.
think too, a big part for me, actually, that makes Black and White 2 very memorable is that was the last game that had what to me felt like a true, interesting, and good post game because
Mm,
it gave you ways of catching like every major legendary that had come out so far. And they all had like their own distinct, interesting dungeons and places you would go to. And like there was like exploration involved in finding those. Whereas Gen 6 on, it was like, hey, we need a way for people to catch the old ones. There's these gates, these like time portal things. You find them sometimes, and like a legendary pops out, and you can catch it. Thumbs up. And like, what is that? Like Gen 6 especially was such a drop off with post game because it didn't have one really. Like it did, but there was
mm.
so little that happened in it. And like you're coming after all these games that had post games that were filled with multiple new areas to go to and interesting things you could do. And then it was like, yeah, there's like a thing. It just didn't sit right coming after that. So that's my 2 cents on that. Black and White 2 is fantastic. Going back to Gen 10 real quick, because we've talked about like kind of general structure and like wanting to see how they do it visually. I think we've both conceded to the idea that it's probably going to be an open world game again, right? Like they want to do the Scarvi approach.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I would. You touched on this earlier because I do think like open world can work better, but I would want to see them handle it differently. Like I think part of the problem with Scarvi is they didn't want to let go of certain artifacts of like Pokemon story progression. Because like they have you start kind of at the bottom of the map, and yes, you can do the gyms in any order, but there's definitely a kind of perceived order
Yes.
you should do them in, and none of them scale in any way. So it's like if you don't do them in the order they kind of want you to do them in, it's just the silliest easy thing in the world to do, to just go back and like dominate this, gym leader that's got level 10 Pokemon and you're rocking things in their 30s.
Yeah.
I would be very interested in seeing them embrace open world in a better way. Have me start near the center. Give me a lot more directionless approach. Let me do gyms in the order that, like in any order, essentially, uh, and like have those scale either with like. I think the easiest answer is scale gyms off of how many badges you have so far. Right? It's like, oh, no matter which gym you go to, if you're, badgeless and this is your first gym battle, dude's got 2 Pokemon that are like level 10. Cool. And then, oh, this is the last gym you went to? Well, now it's a full team of 6 and they're all leveled up and they all have like actual interesting move sets. You scale them appropriately to like how much progress you've made on that front. That way you can have that sense of open world and exploration, but keep the gym battles actually interesting and not just like, oh, you went to this one later? Okay, well, you get to do this olive rolling mini game, and that's fun, right? And then you absolutely obliterate this gym leader.
Yeah.
I think that's just one thing where like while Scarlet Violet was open world, it wasn't direct. It didn't give you that real kind of freedom with like choosing where you went, because like ultimately there was a path you needed to kind of stick to, and I would like to see that gone if you're going to do open world.
It's really tough because it doesn't even apply to the gym leaders. It applies to like all the trainers,
Yeah.
right?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
and I just don't know how they're going to implement that. I just don't know like what that looks like. Because it could be like some underlying, like we never see it, auto adaptation thing, right? Where it's
Yeah.
just like you talk to someone, it's like, or and there's some sort of like, system that's like, all right, all right, what's the strongest Pokemon, or what is this team average? And then
Yeah.
they just like, okay, we're gonna make this like the Pokemon this level, this move set. Like that
I
seems a little bit.
it's a little aggressive. I think the answer there is similarly to the gym thing, but you just space it out a little more, where it's like every 2 badges, you just like rank up what people have. And maybe there still are those characters that are just always super easy no matter what. Like it even happened in Over Pokemon,
That's
right?
true.
Like
They
there were
could
alternate
base it off
routes you
the
could do.
badges. Yeah,
Um,
they could base off the badges. That
yeah,
makes sense too.
yeah. Which I mean, adapting every single trainer in the game to have 8 different or 9 different settings is aggressive, and there would be exploits with that as well. But there's like a version of that that I think could work. Or you do
Yeah,
it where it's like distance from the center, right? You start near the center, and the further out, that's just you're going to start seeing more and more, at least like higher mid level trainers, where like even if you
well,
go to them right away, they're crazy powerful.
what's the difference between that for you versus starting from the bottom and moving up the map?
Um, I actually have the freedom to to explore where I want in the order that just whatever will compels me. Like part of the point of open world game to me isn't just having a big open landscape. It's the fact that I can go left and a friend goes right and we have totally different experiences. Or in like the order we experience things. Scarvi is literally
Mm.
like yes, it's open world in like the world design, but it is still a very linear game as far as progression goes, right? Like the gym leaders have their set levels, there's clear areas you're supposed to go to in certain orders to do things. Uh, and to me, that's just a mishmash of genre styles that I think does a disservice to both. Like, I think either make a more linear designed game with intentionality that way, or embrace how open world needs to be built a bit more. Because I think you're just getting a hybrid that doesn't land either style well.
I can see what you mean by that. I can see what you mean by that. Like again, I'm still enjoying Scarvi, but I think that those are all like fair things that they could work on, and if that is like what they're really trying to go for.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, like, if they said, or if they didn't say that you could approach gyms in any order you wanted to, it virtually doesn't matter in a real way. So,
Mm.
I get what you're saying there.
Here's a
Anything else?
yeah. I mean, I had one last random thought, and this is a little bit
Yeah,
more of a fun thing. Um, what would you want them to base the next gen on? Like region.
I
Like,
like. I
is there
understand.
just a country that you think would be interesting that we haven't really seen explored yet, or like a
What
Pokemon take
is
on?
what is like Hoenn and Sinnoh and Unova based off of?
Well, Unova's U.S. Um,
Really?
yeah, that's why there's like tall skyscraper cities and stuff, and yeah, Gen 5, right? Yeah, Gen 5 is United States. I think specifically East Coast is more the intent. Uh, but
Because I swear to God, until Lumina, or like until Luminos and like France, like
with the
in
most
that,
aggressive French stuff. I mean, there's an Eiffel Tower equivalent. Like,
yeah, like before 6th gen, outside of Kanto and Johto, I thought they were just like
so well,
made from the ground up.
the first
Like,
four gens are all well. Yeah, I mean, they're still like original locations. It's not like they try to like copy the region's shape or anything. But culturally,
well, not
once
shape, but like you know what I mean.
yeah,
Like there's like the cultural
yeah.
influence, that type of thing.
So Gen 1 through 4 are all different regions of Japan. They're all Japan, just different parts of Japan, and there are influences in the design. Like the design of Gen 4 having the big central mountain that like divides the areas up a little bit, that is based on a region in Japan and like how that kind of developed.
Mm.
And it wasn't till 5 that they started being like, we're gonna go international. So like 5 is United States, 6 is France, 7 was like Hawaii and Pacific Isles, um, so on and so forth. 8 was the UK and 9 was Spain.
Yeah, I know, 6 moving forward. I know where they're all,
They
what they're all
they were much
based
more
on.
loud about it moving on that point.
And that, I think that's my issue, is that like I don't want it to be like this obvious like, look, we're doing this, like this cultural influence. Like I don't want that.
Mm,
Like the fact that I didn't know that Hoenn and Sinnoh were based off of other Japanese regions, I think speaks as to like how I feel. Like I I like how they kind of felt like their own thing that didn't have like major. Like I think like Johto was like the biggest um like obvious influence, but like I think it worked, like it worked in its favor. Um
yeah,
in that sense, like I loved the rural Japan, like the architecture, like that stuff was like really really cool.
yeah,
Um but yeah, I don't know, like I don't really care. Like
yeah.
I would rather
You
it not have that.
that's what I was about
So
to say. You'd rather they just go for something that's like original ground up and like not even think
absolutely.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of
100%.
fun. I honestly don't know like where I would want, but I think it's a neat like because like Pokemon's always meant to be like lightly mirroring the real world. It's like what would life
Sure.
be if we all had these like companion monster things? And so like being and I think you bring up a great point of Johto because I do think at least from like a Westerner perspective, especially if you haven't like visited Japan and like gotten into the culture, like Johto does have, I think, the strongest like flavor of like, oh yeah, there's these rural Japan areas. There's a little bit more of like kind of older culture and history that is coming through in some of the zones and design. Um, and so I like that stuff, and I think Johto is probably the strongest example of it for the regions based in Japan. And so I think it's fun when they play with stuff like that in, you know, the French one has the Labradoodle Pokemon and the Eiffel Tower, and everyone's enjoying baguettes. I think it's kind of like a fun, like just like little playful thing they do. Um, and I don't have an answer to my own question on this, because I just haven't thought about it that much, to be honest. Like I don't know what region would be cool. I think maybe doing something with like a South American influence could be interesting, because that's just something we haven't really, that like this is just a part of the world that hasn't been touched on yet. We've got a decent bit of Europe. We had the U.S. We have Pacific Isles, obviously Asia and Japan with the older games. So that's where my brain goes, is something maybe a little bit different. Um, but I don't know. I just
I
think
could also
it's fun.
I could also see them going back to Japan with it being the 10th
Sure.
generation, 30th anniversary, things like that. I could see them going back to Japan.
Man,
Um,
imagine if they did like a weird like imagine it was Kanto again, but like a true moving the needle forward design, right? Like not like a direct remake of, oh, here's how it was in Gen 1. Like they really redo that region in a different gameplay style and like move the timeline forward there.
that'd be really cool. I'd love it. I'd love it, but then I would want it for Johto. That's what I would say to that. I'd be like, that's really dope. Now do Johto. Do Johto. Let's jump time forward. Like let's pretend like it's Johto again, but you know, we're not gonna run into uh well, like the gym leaders are like notably older or have been like
Yeah.
replaced, and like
Right.
some of
There's
them
like
might be a part of the Elite Four now or something. Like
sure
that'd be really cool. Kind of like what they did with Kanto
in
in
Johto.
the
Yeah.
Johto game, but
But like
like do it.
a more significant gap. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be really cool. I'd like that a lot. Um, but yeah, I think we have recorded quite a meaty episode
We have.
of
It's not our longest, but it's up there.
yeah, but I mean we had a lot to talk about,
Yeah.
so um Kevin, do you have anything for us before we dip out?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, everybody, thank you so much to listening to this week's episode. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Thank you all for the love and support. And until next time, we'll catch you later.
Later.